Okay.
Hey, Mr. Albright, how are you?
I'm well, Madam Mayor. Good evening. How are you?
And, you know, city manager.
Hi, you're echoing quite a bit. I can't really hear you.
Oh, you're there. Is other council members there? Lucido, Baker, and DeMonico.
Monaco's here.
Lucido's here.
Curly's here too, but he's
Okay.
muted.
Mr. Baker.
Harvey, you need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Everybody.
Councilman Baker.
Yeah, I
There he
see
is.
Rob's here now too. Rob, you hear us? Oh, he's connecting to audio, it says. Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Now, Rob, you there now?
Yep, I'm here.
All right.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we can go ahead and start. I call to order the Eastpointe City Council regular meeting Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. We're going to start with the invocation with Councilwoman Lucido, and then after that, we're going to go into the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Lucido.
Dear God, please watch over our residents, as many of them may be sick or have loved ones that are sick. As all of us deal with the struggle of the fear of getting sick and coping with isolation, help us to use this challenge to bring out the best in us, to show charity, kindness, and compassion for all of our loved ones and neighbors. Let us to
Hello.
Looks like we'd lost her and now she's muted.
Ms. Lucido.
You're muted now, Sarah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Okay. Did you want to start
For our
over?
loved ones and neighbors. Oh, yeah, I can start over.
Thank you.
Please watch over our residents. Dear God, please watch over our residents, as many of them may be sick or have loved ones that are sick. As all of us deal with this struggle of the fear of getting sick and coping with isolation, help us to use this challenge to bring out the best in us, to show clarity, charity, kindness, and compassion for our loved ones and neighbors. Let us all unify to overcome the challenges of now and look for the light of tomorrow. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
The
States of
flag
America,
of the
to
United
Republic
States of
of
America,
America, and
for
to
which
the
it stands,
Republic
For which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
indivisible,
God,
with liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for
justice
all.
for
liberty
all.
and justice for all. Okay, we almost got it together. Thank you, everyone. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Baker,
Here.
Councilperson Curley,
Here.
Here.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Here.
Councilperson Lucido,
Here.
Mayor Owens.
Here. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I'll motion to approve the agenda as is.
Support.
Madam Mayor,
Support.
I would like to add 2 items to the agenda if possible.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to add a discussion on our meetings in May.
Okay. Would that be item F?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah, I'll withdraw my meeting, or my motions for, and Sarah can make one.
And then I would also like to add an item G, a possible discussion on an amendment to ordinance 1623.
Okay, I heard none of that because my computer went out. I think we're having a bad connection all around. You
No,
said
that's fine.
meetings in May, item F,
And then
and what else is
G,
that now?
G, discussion on a possible amendment to 1623, an ordinance 1623.
Well, I'll support that.
Okay, that's just bad connection. I had these stuff several times. So you said, how many items are you adding?
2, F, the meetings in May, and then item G
Okay.
would be a discussion on ordinance 1623.
Okay, since I can barely hear you, I'm gonna do a meetings in May, and the G was what, Ms. Lucido?
A discussion on ordinance, an amendment for ordinance 16-23.
Was that the medical marijuana?
No,
What does that entail? So if we get cut off,
That's in-
I can at least write it down.
it's in regards to like the state of emergency.
And Cardi did support that already.
Yes, sir. I think
I did
she's,
too, but I was muted. Yeah.
I think we lost the mayor now. She, yeah, I don't see Monique and, oh, now she's back.
She's still here, but she's unmuted, so she should be fine.
Is there a, how is she connected there? I don't know if she can hear me right now, but if we could get her a better
I can
connection.
hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you too, even though it says you're muted. That's strange, but I don't see you.
Okay, we said additional agenda items will be F, meetings in May, and then you said G. That's the only thing I couldn't hear, Ms. Lucido. I think we're gonna go back and forth on that G.
Can you hear me, Mayor? This is Elke. No? Mayor? Nope, she's gone.
Oh, I can see her now. Can you hear her? Mayor, can you hear me?
She's muted.
I can hear you. My phone is.
Mayor, do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if I may, I'll repeat what Sarah said. It's coming through a little clearer on mine. For G,
Okay.
she wanted a discussion on amendment to ordinance 16-23. And it's in regards to the state of emergency. We're losing her again.
Possible for you to join on another computer? Mayor, if she can hear, you're muted again.
If I can make a recommendation, it may be better if you turn off, Madam Mayor, it may be better if you turn off the Wi-Fi on the device you're using and use your data plan,
Okay.
or vice versa.
Okay, I'm on my phone now, so that was on my computer. Okay. I just can't see anybody like I did the computer, so. Okay, so let's do this one more time. I'm gonna cancel this one on my computer. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Okay. Okay, now we're starting to approve of the agenda. I know we've been on this for like 5 minutes now, so I apologize. F is meetings in May, and G is the ordinance. What did you say? I can hear you better now. Ms. Doom?
16
Oh, what did you
point.
say? I can hear you now.
Are you waiting for me or Sarah?
It's still acting up. Either one. I just want to get G so we can continue.
Okay, ordinance
Go ahead.
16-23, and this is in regards to the state of emergency.
Okay. Thank you. I have it. Can I get a motion for that? I know before is approved, but we didn't do it at the.
I'll motion to
extra
approve the
agenda,
agenda
so-
with. I'll motion to approve the agenda, adding F, meetings in May, and G, discussion of ordinance 1623 amendment.
I support it.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
Councilperson Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes, thank you. And now it's time for the hearing of the public.
I have 4 communications that I've been asked to read at the hearing of the public. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I will start with the first one. The first is from an Eastpointe resident. Her name is Linda Flans. And it starts out, hello, dear council and administration. I'm writing to bring attention to the incredible amount of litter strewed across the city, specifically commercial properties. This is a bad reflection on the city and its residents, and I would hope that the building department begin focusing on getting businesses to be responsible for their parties. So that's the first one. The second one is from Mary Hall Rayford, and it begins, whatever people want to put on a personal social media page is their business. However, when an attempt is made to communicate to the public, as in all residents, the communicative mechanism, whether written or video, should be well written, grammatically correct, and articulated coherently. Therefore, I suggest, as a means to represent the city in the best possible light, all communication efforts should be professionally prepared so the city is not embarrassed, and they should not only be posted on the city's official pages and website to eliminate confusion. My other concern is leading by example. If elected officials are not willing to abide by the governor's orders or their own edicts, why should anyone comply? The residents of this city, for the most part, have deeply rooted connections and want only the best for us. It would make a profound difference in what happens here if we all saw that same desire from those elected. And going on to the third one, this is from Jeannie Mandel. The past week, we have had video of the mayor at Fresh Choice Market violating the stay-at-home order.
Protection package and US-based restoration specialists who work to fix problems. Award-winning device security.
I don't know who's got the music on.
Mute the Carol account. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. All right, I'll start again. The past week, we have video of the mayor at Fresh Choice Market violating the stay-at-home order. We would like to have this addressed at the council meeting tonight, as well as her residency in Eastpointe as well. We have 3 different addresses for her, and she has not come in or out of any of these homes. This is from Jeannie Mandel. And then the last one we have is from John DeHunt. And he'd like to touch on 2 topics for today's hearing. And before a conversation is had about grass cutting, I felt it was necessary to make a few comments. I completely respect the governor's stance on why she put the orders in place, but there are too many. Can you hear me?
Hello? Ms. Dill, can you hear me? Hello?
We can.
Hello? Ms. Doom, hello?
Elke, you
can't
must
hear
be
me.
muted.
Am I muted or?
No, she's talking, but we can't hear.
Elke's muted.
Mayor?
Now we can hear you.
Already I see your,
Oh, what I want to say was, if it's an attack on the mayor or any council
No
members, I would
sound.
like you not to read if it does not address all of council. So if it's not addressed to all of council, I will not like you to read that.
oh,
Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah,
Did you hear me, Ms. Doom?
Monique, she said that she cannot hear us,
oh,
but we can hear her. She said she's going to log off and then log in again.
Okay. Thank you. I think there's just a bad connection today.
Yeah.
Everybody that has joined, thank you for coming out and listening to what's going on and staying connected with what's going on in your city. And I'm glad everybody is safe. Hi, Ms. Dunn. Can you hear us now? Yeah,
no
Ms.
sound. None.
Can you hear me now?
No, I joined.
I'm gonna text, can she, I think she's on her computer. She used her phone like I did.
The Zoom in the bottom left has a microphone, Elke, with a little arrow there. Sometimes there's multiple speakers. Maybe pick the other one if you have two. Or, I don't know, whatever you'd like to do, Mayor.
I'm back on.
Okay, we can hear you
Can
now.
you hear us?
It took me a while, but I'm back.
You're back. Okay, you had one more letter to read about grass cutting.
Yes, okay. Shall I continue?
Ms. Doom, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, what I was gonna say is next time you read the statements, if they're addressed directly to me, do not read them. We only address council as a whole.
Well, let's see. Dear Council, Administration,
Thank you.
that's not really stated 2 or 4. Now, this last one is for everyone, including me.
Okay.
And it's about grass cutting. And it's from Mr. DeHunt. And let's see. I completely respect the governor's stance on why she put the orders in place, but there are too many mitigating factors involved. I would love a clear and concise statement from council and the city. If I had a garage and a lawnmower, I would be legally entitled to cut my grass and service my yard because I would be a crew of 1. Since I do not have a lawnmower or garage to store it in, I use a one-man service. He does not landscape for me. He cuts edges and weed whips, all as a team of 1. He's a local resident, so he isn't traveling far. By definition of the mandate, I cannot use him to cut my grass, which makes 0 sense, because had I had the equipment, I could do it and be perfectly legal. He doesn't talk to me or anyone else. He comes, does his job, and leaves. 0 contact with anyone. There was a notice on Facebook groups that said there could be a violation if grass is not cut. Whether the notice was an error or not, if the city has a company cut my grass because it was too long, they would contract with a company to do it, thus doing what I normally would have done. I'm asking for a clear, defined strategy from council and a clear, defined approach to the governor's order. I'm sure there is room for interpretation and a way that we can safely cut with a team of 1 person. Now, his second point is about the parks. I respect the need to make our parks safe, and I understand why the decisions were made. However, physical exercise was one of the things the governor encouraged us to do. The ability to just walk in parks, not congregate or use the amenities, should not be taken away from us. The school district has wrapped up the swings and taped off the playscapes to remind people that they are not allowed to use them. Why can't the city do the same thing? St. Clair Shores Police taped off their playgrounds long ago, and most communities have not closed access to the parks. To my knowledge, short of the playground and equipment and public amenities, the governor has not closed the state parks. Maybe that has changed. There have been so many things that have changed. And finally, so many of us lost and losing so much, please don't take any more away from us. If there is worry or concern about people violating the rules and using playground equipment, fine for them. If they can't pay a fine, there's a ton of trash and litter they can pick up around the city. If lawn companies cheat, fine them, but I guarantee you they won't if they have ability to work within the confines of reason. Thank you, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy. And that's my last one.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
to everyone that wrote a letter and made a statement. There was heard tonight. Next is the approval of the minutes for March 17, 2020 and March 24 for the special meeting that we had.
Madam Mayor, I would move that we would approve the minutes from the March 17, 2020 meeting and the special meeting of March 24th, 2020.
Well, point of inquiry here, we should be asking if anyone else that's actually on the meeting, though, had any public hearing comments. Okay. Mayor,
Did
did you hear
anybody
that?
have anything back? Going back, did anybody have an additional hearing of the public? Seeing none.
I got a question.
Who is that?
Scott Riney.
Oh, hi, how are you? Please state your name, just like we would in a council meeting. Please state your name and residency, sir.
Scott Riney, 17101 Wilson.
Thank you.
My question, or my thing is on the water bill, it stated if you didn't cut your grass, the city would hire a crew and invoice you for it. If we're not legally allowed to hire landscapers, how is the city legally allowed to hire landscapers? And I know you can't answer the question now.
Right. Was that all, sir?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you for your question. Anybody else have any questions at this time? Seeing none. Mr. Curley, Councilman, about the approval of the minutes, let's continue.
Would you like for me to repeat it? Do
No,
I need
you
to
already
repeat it?
approved.
Okay,
You don't have to.
all right. We got a second?
I'll support Mr. Curley's motion.
Okay. Support, call the roll.
Councilperson Curley,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido, Sarah, are you on still?
Looks like her video is frozen. And now I don't see it.
I don't see her at all anymore.
I'll just-
Hmm.
that's right.
I will support that. I got disconnected.
Okay, welcome back.
All right, that's a yes vote for Ms. Lucido. Mayor Owens,
Yes, thank you.
Councilperson Baker.
Oh,
Yes.
All right, motion
thank
passes.
you. Okay. Moving to scheduled hearings. Board of Special Assessors meeting and public hearing, sidewalk and driveway approach, district number 182. Trying to hold my phone and also turn these pages. Ms. Doom, did you want to speak on this? Any? Ms. Dunn? Mr. Fairbrother, one of you guys want to speak on this? Anybody hear me?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with these computers. They're muting and unmuting themselves.
No, we don't hear you again, Elkie. No. I can read your lips, but
Okay, well, can you hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Um,
Hi.
Well, while Elke's trying to get her audio working, the special assessment is for unpaid sidewalks from last summer's work. We do the work, we bill the homeowner. If they don't pay it, it gets split into two different rolls. If they do not pay those, then they are considered delinquent, and we would then roll them onto the summer taxes. That is what this public hearing is for. People, if they have a notice of an unpaid bill, they can come before council. They can only discuss workmanship. There's no arguing about price or anything like that. If they have work that was done on a sidewalk that they feel was defective, they can bring up the issue at that point. But that really is the only purpose of the public hearing at this point.
I'm back.
And there she is.
Randy, did you ask to postpone this because folks could not come to the hearing?
I was explaining what the public hearing was. That's as far as we got. There had been discussion of postponing the hearing so that people could actually do this in person instead of over Zoom.
Yeah.
If we do delay this, it would be delayed until the first meeting in August. Once this hearing is held, they still have 60 days to make a payment. So tonight would be the last night to have a hearing to get it on the summer taxes. So if we table this hearing until the first meeting in August, then it would end up on the winter tax bills. And that we've bounced that back and forth. I think with what's going on in the economy, that might be a better option.
Okay, and you said there are folks that
I didn't hear anything.
reached out?
We've had people call about the letters they've received. Nobody's indicated any issue other than clarifying what the letters were related to.
Mr. Blum, my phone was off. It went in and out. And you said this is based on last year's assessment, correct?
Correct. It was sidewalk work performed last summer that is still unpaid at this point.
It's still unpaid. Council, do you want to speak on this?
Mr. Blum suggested we maybe put this off until it'd have to be on the next tax bill, so put it off until, you said, hearing in August, I believe, Mr. Blum.
The first meeting in August.
I wouldn't disagree with, as he said, the economic situation, of course, going on with folks right now. I don't see any issue with that. What does everyone else think?
Well, if I might, Madam Mayor, our memo says that there's no financial impact, no recommendation from the city manager, and no motion is in order at this time. But I agree that first meeting in August would be great. So I don't think we need to make a motion for that, just a consensus. And since there is no motion was necessary anyway, so I would agree on the consensus that we would just visit this again in the first meeting in August.
You may actually need to make a motion only because this was a publicly advertised public hearing on this specific date. So we either have to have the date or council probably should table the hearing, formally table it.
Okay, if I might, Madam Mayor, I would move that we would table this item until the first meeting in August.
I will support that.
Motion is supported. Please call the roll. Thank you.
Councilperson Curley,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
and Mayor Owens.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Item A, bid award, mowing and lawn maintenance services. Council.
Sure, Mayor, I'll move that we award the bid for mowing and lawn maintenance services to Marino's Landscaping, 51879 Shana Road, Shelby Township, Michigan, 48315, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this bid award.
I'll support that. Support.
Motion supported, please call the roll.
Councilperson
If I could just comment before we go to a vote, Mayor? I just want to make sure that we state that mowing, of course, is not going to begin until the governor allows, for anyone listening. We won't be cutting our own lawns either until the governor allows. And also, I just want to clarify the math that was in some memos that we received. The amount we're saving on this, I would say, is roughly 52 grand a year, but we were getting other numbers that I do not believe were accurate, but compared to our current contractor, we'd save about 50 grand a year doing this according to their own prices. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor. Mayor, are you there? I do not.
Okay, I'm back. Are you done, Mr. DeMonico? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Did he call the roll for that? We have a motion that was supported.
No, Madam Mayor, I was waiting for you, so I can do it right now. Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilperson Baker?
Yes.
Councilperson Curley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Thank you. The next item on unfinished business, item number B, discussion on extension dog license fees.
Mayor, I don't think we heard your
Council?
vote on that last one.
I didn't hear her either.
I'm not voting this. Ms. Bone, can you step, please?
Yeah, I think we lost her again.
Okay, I'm back. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Ms. Doom, did you want to speak on this? For the
Mayor,
dog license fees?
Mayor, we were trying to get your vote for the previous motion. We didn't hear it. I think you cut out just before you voted.
I said yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
It just cut off. It keeps cutting off, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on today. The next item under
Is everyone still there?
I'm here.
Yes, but
I'm here now.
Okay.
Okay. The next item under unfinished business, item number B is discussion, action on extension of dog license fees. Ms. Doom, would you like to speak on this, please?
Yes, certainly. Our clerk's office processes all dog licenses, and they were due on March 1st of this year. And anyone who came to purchase a dog license afterwards, until the time that we closed, was charged an additional $10 fee, a late fee. And so the motion was made at our last meeting to forego all late fees for dog licenses as we're now closed to the public. So I would like clarification for our community. Does this mean from March 16th, when we formally closed, until we reopen? Or no, June 15th, I'm sorry. Or does this include all dog licenses for the entire, period of dog licensing from March forward to June 15th?
I would think oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would think it would go until the 15th of June.
June 15th. And is that from the time we were closed to the public?
Yes.
Was March, I believe it was March 16th. Brian, do you have the exact date?
Yeah, I believe it's March 16th.
Okay. All right, and that's for new dog licenses or for existing ones who were late in coming forward to get their dog licenses for the year?
Or are you saying that they were late before March? Because they're all due March 1st. I think that's why you're asking, right?
Right. And so we did have a number of people who came to City Hall and bought their dog licenses, paid the $10 late fee, and then we closed City Hall on March 16th. So what we want to clarify is that from March 16th forward, like new dog licenses for people who've just purchased dogs or acquired dogs, or does this include everyone from March 1st forward through to June 15th, even if they were to have had it by March 1st?
I think just going forward, so just be new licenses, or I guess a super early renewal for this current year. What does everyone else think?
I would agree with that.
Well, thank you. That brings clarity to our employees, because they're, weren't quite certain whether people had paid the late fee up until March 15th. We're going to ask for a refund, or if this is more for new dog licenses, and those who come forward after will still have to pay that $10 fee. Those who should have been licensed by March 1st. So.
But the other thing I'd like to clarify is that we're just not going to ticket anyone for not having their dog license till June 15th because they don't have the ability to go in and purchase one. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, and I
would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Did you want a motion on this, Ms. Doom? I think you're muted. We can't hear you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think Brian's muting me. A motion would be great. That would be ideal. Thank you.
Sure. Then Mayor, I'll motion then that the late fees March 15th and on are waived until June 15th, so that only apply to new dog licenses or very early renewals. And then also, of course, we wouldn't be enforcing the license at that point, since there's no way to get a license during that time.
Support.
I support.
Now, those dog licensing and also the water bills are all due on the 21st of each month, or because I'm about how we choose it. I can't hear all this. Ms. Dunn?
Yes, they are due on the 21st of each month, and we currently had the water bills that were payable without penalty through June 15th. Is that something you'd like to change to June 21st to meet the normal deadline for water bills?
Yes, I would like to change it to June 21st to meet the regular deadline.
Sure, I'll amend my motion to that.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll to amend the motion to March 15th to June 21st. Thank you.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
and Councilperson Curley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we're at new business. Item A, Macomb County Habitat for Humanity proposal to purchase tax reverted properties. Council?
So that revised agenda had unfinished Part C, the medical marijuana facilities ordinance.
A revised copy.
Okay, I have to look on on this phone because it wasn't sent to us, it was emailed. And since I don't have a printer at home and my phone is going back and forth, you guys gotta give me a minute to ring it up. So, was that item number A, the medical marijuana, or Macomb County Habitat?
Marijuana.
It's
The next two
C.
items, yeah, the next two items concern marijuana.
Okay. Let me open it up. Thank you. Thank you. 1 second. We have one of my favorite people helping me out today. I didn't know you were here. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. So we're still under unfinished business, I take it. Thank you. Item C under unfinished business, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 1183, amend chapter 50 zoning by adding a new article 23, medical marijuana overlay districts.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we vote on this for the first reading, I do have a question for clarification because I'm confused with the language. It would be under general provisions, page 2, section 50-261, item 3, concerning the distance required for the buffer. The bottom part is what I don't understand. If you could all look at it, it says, well, let me read the whole thing. The distance requirement described in the buffer district shall be computed by direct measurement in a straight line from the nearest property line of the land used for purposes stated in section 50-260 to the nearest property line of a building structure or unit in which a medical marijuana facility is located. I'm confused on the wording after 50-260 to the nearest property line of the building structure or unit in which the medical marijuana. I'm confused, Council and Mayor, is that literally the property line? When Mary might be able to answer this question. Is that second part being measured from the actual building, or is it going to be measured from the lot that the building's on from their property line? In other words, property line to property line. I'm sorry, what?
Ms. Van Heeren, are you on here? Hi.
Yes, thank you,
evening.
thank you. I'm happy to respond to that. I too found that very confusing and questioned that while we were reviewing the ordinance. I do not understand it either.
Well,
I don't.
well,
I don't.
okay, if we don't understand.
I would hate for you to vote on something that you don't understand, Mr. Curley, or even the person Van Heeren or any of us quite understand. So,
Does everybody agree with it? They don't understand it either?
I agree. It is very confusing. And I think that wording needs to be changed.
Mr. Albright, can you chime in, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. The way that section is to be read, it should read from property line to property line. That was the intent. If the city council wishes to amend that language so it is clear, and it is clear to the city council and the residents, the city council can certainly do that.
Okay, so your judgment is that it is property line to property line. So typically property lines are right next to the other property line, correct? So there's no way that you could ever get 100 feet if it's from property line to property line because they butt up against each other. Am I right?
This is talking about, these are talking about two different facilities that are covered by this particular ordinance.
I don't understand what that means.
No, Mr. Albright, this not this part. we're in 50-261, number 3. That's the one discussing commercial property line to residential line just for any facility. The top part discusses between facilities in 50-260 part D. Right, so part A in 50-260 says the buffer district is 100 feet from any property with a residential dwelling unit. And then we say we're going from property line to property line, right? So Mr. Curley's saying pretty much all the commercial property in the city abuts residential property. So there'd never be 100 feet property line to property line, almost never. Maybe there's like a part or two, maybe 8 Mile and Gratiot. There's commercial properties, one in front of the other, possibly.
Yeah, this
But,
language,
yeah.
this language, for whatever reason, most likely should have been deleted, and for whatever reason, in the approved draft, it was not. I see that. I see it in both 50-260 subsection D and also 50-261(3). The language in 50-261(3) could simply be deleted.
If that part, if I may, Madam Mayor, if that
Yes,
part,
sir.
if that part is deleted, Rich, do we go back to where the conversation was, well, before I was on the council, that distance would be 100 feet from the existing building to the residential property line?
It could be whatever the city council decided it to be. That is something within your discretion.
Madam Mayor, may I? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
please. I'm sorry. Councilwoman Lucido.
May I just suggest that we measure from structure to structure and just make it that simple? Just have the 100 feet be from structure to structure. Just clarify the wording. That would be my recommendation.
Can I
When
pipe in?
When you say
Yes.
structures, when you say
Yes, Ms.
structure,
Van Aaron, please. Ms.
Yeah,
Van
my
Aaron.
concern with being from structure to structure would be a residential structure that may enlarge their property. And now they've put that commercial property in violation of the ordinance because now they've built closer to it. Or would that restrict that residential property from enlarging their property if they would be closer than the 100? That's why I think measuring it to the property line eliminates that from having, from possibility.
And wouldn't that only affect if there was a change in ownership? That it would be remeasured if there was a change in ownership?
I don't know.
Well, can I ask, what was the, how did we understand it when the,
Why would it be?
You could do it from the
why would it be?
commercial.
Why would it be? I'm talking to Councilwoman Lucido. Why would it be? Why would we have to redo it just because a new owner moved into the house? The measurements would still be the same, correct?
I wasn't referring to the owner of the house. I was referring to the owner of the business. So if there was a marijuana shop, let's say opened at 8 Mile and Gratiot, and someone on one block over built a home and they put an addition on the back, I'm not saying that they would have to close. I mean, once that marijuana shop closed, the new one that moved in there would be the one they would have to, the other one would be grandfathered in under what they were originally opened under. You know what I'm saying? Like how we do our cement wall. It's always, we don't make the owners put the cement walls up until there's a change in ownership of the commercial property.
Right. Right.
So that's why. the only
Councilman DeMont, thank you. Councilman
change.
yeah, I was just asking what was the rule when McKenna drew their map that we had? This map's dated April 29th, 2018. So this would have been way back. Well, I wonder if that means 2019. That had the red zones for where facilities would be okay. I think we used this map at the joint meeting between City Council and Planning Commission, I believe. Was that 100, Ms. Van Haren, do you know then, was that 100 feet? What was that? Was that residential building to commercial building, residential lot line to commercial building?
Yeah, I think at that point she was going from commercial property, from the commercial property building to the residential property line, but I think it needed to be clarified then. I don't know that it was clear then. It needs to be clarified now. And at least if you were going from the commercial building to the residential property line, you would put the onus on the commercial property not to expand and put themselves in violation, and not on the residential property to not expand and put the commercial property in violation.
Mm-hmm.
Or just property line to property line, which would eliminate as many commercial properties from being available for this use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's your preference, Councilwoman Lucido, then?
I like property line and property line. Is that what they do in other communities, Ms. Van Haren? Because I know this is your profession.
Yeah, they really do a mixed bag, Mayor. It's a variety. Even within our own ordinance, it's a variety of measurement, the way they measure. So I haven't seen anything consistent.
I know Councilwoman Lucille has been sitting on the board for a while, so I be more in depth in what's going on, and I know she has knowledge in real estate as well. Councilwoman Lucido, just
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I did not hear what you just asked.
no, I said you have a background in housing and things like that, so I want to know, did you have any more suggestions to this? Because I know you've been on this commission as well, and you know a little bit more of what has been going on. So what were some of the other suggestions that you had?
Well, I do agree with Mr. Curley. We don't really have hardly any properties in the city that don't actually are adjacent to residential property. So I think that's going to be a concern. I would think that at this time, maybe we can, Mr. Albright and Ms. Van Haren, come up with some different measurement, and maybe we can get some maps to kind of get an idea on what the different communities have used the wording and what would be available in the city of Eastpointe if we went with those wordings. Does that make sense?
That sounds good. We've been working on this a long time, so hopefully we can get this together.
With that.
Madam Mayor?
It's almost been a year.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir, Council. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Just
sir.
a question to Mary. We're trying to decide what the footage would be for the building that houses a marijuana. On some other structures, like say a bar, what type of method do you use to measure the measurements for a bar to be open?
I think that a bar is required to have a special land use approval, and it indicates that it has to be 100 feet from a church and school. There's some requirements like that within the ordinance, and in some cases it specifically indicates that it would be measured from property line to property line. In other parts of the ordinance, so when they're talking about the pawn shop, they talk about, they use about 2 or 3 different ways in our ordinance to measure the buffer zones or the distance between uses, and we're not consistent in our ordinance.
Might not be a bad idea if we become consistent. It wouldn't be as much confusion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, obviously, council members and Madam Mayor, I don't know how we could possibly agree to property line to property line. You have a commercial property that they want to put a marijuana store in, and that property line goes up to the property line of the resident. That could be as wide as a fence or as wide as a brick wall would be. So, you'd have 8 or 10 inches instead of 100 feet. But at least if we went from the building and measured from the building to the property line, then it's it's a question: is that 100 feet or not?
I just didn't want anybody's house. I don't know if anyone wants to stay by a medical marijuana facility, even if it's 100 feet. So I just want to be mindful of the resident. And that's probably pretty much my opinion on that.
Oh, Mr.
Madam Mayor,
Curley. Oh yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Rich. Go ahead, Rich.
Oh, thank you. So is it the council's desire to modify this language so it's from structure to structure or from some other distance requirement?
Well, I think that is what I was going to touch on. I'd propose even something simpler than that right now, that we just, our provided maps would, I don't know if Mary would know or Elke, would McKenna be able to modify their map
Sure.
slightly to, because I guess it sounds like we have essentially 3 different ideas here. So I don't know if they could create 2 or 3 different maps for us. One that would show property line to property line, one that would show commercial building to residential property line, and then Miss Lucido's option, a commercial building to residential building. And I believe their last map did not include the buffers for religious, places of worship and childcare centers, parks, schools, everything that's listed in here. Do we think we could at least do those maps, and then maybe at the next meeting, or we could then maybe decide on the language then, instead of trying to figure that out now, because it'd be more obvious what that language actually means.
Ms. Van Haren?
Yeah, we can certainly ask McKenna, have McKenna do that, and they would be able to provide those maps for us.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. So I believe this is going to be tabled until we have more research.
I'll support that. I'll support tabling this motion until we get more information from McKenna.
Okay, yeah, I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll. Thank you.
I have a question. I have a question on the motion.
Yes, sir.
If we do that, and I intend to vote yes, but that would mean our next item is going to be on ordinance 1184. If we vote for that tonight, 1184, then at our next meeting, we would be a first reading again on this. And then on 1184, if we pass that tonight, that'll be the second reading on that. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Right,
so
I would
do both
motion to
at the
table
same
that
time?
also.
Pardon me?
Did you want to do both? We have to talk one at a time, going through the Sturgis, how it's supposed to go. The mayor is the one who directs everything. So let's do one at a time in order, please. So what were you saying, Councilman Curley, was put item C and D to table it? Is that what you were saying?
No, not necessarily. No, I was just clarifying, so I'm right, that at our next meeting, when we discuss this, it'll still be the first reading. Would that, Rich, maybe you can answer that. Would that still be the first reading?
It would still be a first reading, yes.
Okay, so.
Because the first reading has not been approved.
Yeah.
It would be a
Okay.
first.
Okay, and if we want to, but I want to discuss the 11, well, let's take this first. Thank you. I'm going to
Okay.
vote yes on our motion. So did she get you got a second, didn't you?
Yes, we got a second. I believe we did. Mr. Fairbrother?
All right, I have motion by Lucido, supported by DeMonico. Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilperson Baker?
Yes.
Councilperson Curley?
Yes.
All right. Next item, unfinished business is item D, introduction and first reading ordinance number 1184, amend chapter 10. I'll let Mr. Curley speak on this first. Councilman Curley, did you want to say something on this?
No, I'll pass right now. I'm ready to vote on this for the first reading, but I want to be fair for the rest of the council, because they may have some questions and concerns and amendments to 1184.
Oh, thank you. Council, would you like to speak on this, please?
Madam Mayor, I would prefer tabling this until we vote on 1184. 3.
Right, do everything at the same time, I agree.
Yes.
Okay, I'll support the tabling of this.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. We have a motion in support. Please call the roll.
I'm sorry, that was motion by Curley, supported by,
No, just the opposite. Sarah
Yes.
made the motion and I seconded it.
all right. Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Councilperson Curley,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Next item is reports from administration. We're going to start with our city manager, Elsie Doom. Ms. Doom? Ms. Doom, you there?
Yeah, I think she's muted.
While we wait, well, while we're waiting on her, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Please, yes, ma'am. We're waiting on you whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. I'd like to give you some updates on what the city is doing to protect our residents and our employees. We are currently closed to the community through April 30th. We'll have a better understanding as we get closer to May 1st, and we'll see what the governor's direction is on executive order to be, stay safe and stay apart. We are still practicing social distancing. As I said, we're closed to the public. When you do see people out and about working on behalf of the city, our public works, police and fire, you will notice that people are one person per vehicle. So we are sharing vehicles that we have available so that people will not drive together and for the safety of everyone. Now, most of our employees are working, our full-time employees are, and we are certainly keeping them apart, closing the lunchrooms. We're making sure that everyone feels good, they feel healthy, and that they're comfortable coming to work. Our part-timers are still laid off at this point because we just can't bring that many people into the building and still keep a safe distance from one another. So we're looking forward to this COVID-19 ending. I do have some statistics to share with everyone. This is as of today. We have 4,659 cases of COVID-19 in the county. Of that, 326 cases are in Eastpointe. And for those who have not taken a look at the Macomb County website, they do have a map that shows the numbers of testing positives throughout the county, and it's very clear that it has expanded and moved to the west and to the north of us. So it is really becoming, the hot spots are really growing in other areas. So we still have to be very cautious, and that's why you're going to see a little bit limited services. We are a little bit slow on getting, well, our water bills were a little bit late, but we also do not have late fees for them. We wanted to make sure everyone was safe and got those out in time, as close as we could to time. And we're working on, we still have a primary election, and so our clerk's office is gearing up for that election and preparing everything they can. We still, it's business as usual for us. We might be a little bit more limited in what we're able to provide to the community, but we are still actively working. And if people have called and they haven't gotten their messages returned, please try one more time. We're making a real concentrated effort at retrieving all messages, contacting everyone, whether it's email, whether it's by phone. But we want the community to know that our services are there for them. And please bear with us. We thank you all. You've been so very gracious. And that's my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Blum, are you there?
Madam Mayor, if I could just jump in for 1 second, and it's more of a comment instead of a question for you, Ms. Doom. The heat map on the Macomb County Health Department website, I'd just like to state that it's essentially skewed. For, the closer that people live together, the hotter the map will get, per se. So further north in the county where people don't live as close together, there could be the same amount of cases, if there were, it looked like Eastpointe is a bigger hotspot. That's why I don't even like that term. I don't like to use the term hotspot. But I did a little digging into it, and it's not going to look accurate per city, depending on how close people live together. And I just like to say, obviously, like, just that's not how the coronavirus works anyway. Just, coming into Eastpointe or coming in any other city, you're not going to have a higher or lower chance of getting coronavirus.
Yeah.
It's, of course, the social distancing just between humans that does it. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'm all set, Mayor. I think I see hers is muted.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Again, sorry about that.
No problem.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn, for that update.
You're welcome.
And Mr. DeMonico. Next is our finance.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. I know a email was forwarded to you. It was a summary of a Treasury webinar that I listened to yesterday. But I would like to publicly go through some of the information. As of last week, 1 million people had filed for unemployment, which is 25% of the Michigan workforce. The U of M has done they do projections on state revenue. They updated the state revenue for the state's fiscal year 20, and they are projecting a 2.6 billion with a B shortfall. And for fiscal year 21, a 3.6 billion shortfall. So over the next 18 months or so, the state will be about a $6.2 billion shortfall in revenue. Sales tax is projected to be down 50% for April and May. And then as the state slowly reopens, the shortfall will decrease, but they do expect it to be depressed. They did not have any information on the state gas tax as of yet. There's a couple month delay between filling up your tank and the money being remitted to the state and everything. But they are basing a assumed reduction based on traffic volumes being down 50 to 60%. The the stimulus money that went to the state of Michigan, it is specifically prohibited from being used to offset revenue shortfalls. And it can only be spent on actual efforts towards the coronavirus mitigation. So what does that mean to Eastpointe? The sales tax does impact our state revenue share. The 50% decrease will be about $125,000 to $130,000 per month in a revenue share reduction. The statutory portion of revenue share is theoretically protected through the end of the state's fiscal year of September 30th. But as the state goes to balance their budget for next fiscal year, the city has $857,000 of statutory revenue share that will be at risk. And then depending on how much we actually do lose in the Act 51 street money, we're good for next year's road projects, but it would be the fiscal year 22 that we could see some projects that are canceled or delayed. And that was really the highlights. They did discuss FEMA reimbursement. There will be very little the city will be able to get reimbursed for. Most of the reimbursements are tied to hospitals, health centers, things like that. So, I know our firefighters have bought some N95 masks. Those will count. But there's very little that the city does that will be part of any potential FEMA reimbursements. And that's all I have on that one. So.
Thank you. Now, we talked about the money that we're losing.
Yep.
Can we talk about what are we going to do about that? How are we going to make that money up? Do you have any plans or strategies on making us some money, bringing economic, just bringing some money to Eastpointe? Do you have any strategies on if we know what we're going to lose and tell me what we're going to gain? How are we going to? Do you have any plans or anything like that?
Cities are restricted on how they can raise revenues. We are already maxed out on our millage rates. We don't get to just make up revenue. One option that we have not ever participated in, but would take a vote of the people, would be adding a city income tax. But I don't know that you're going to see that passed especially in this economic environment. What the city and all cities in Michigan are going to be doing is cutting expenses because we do not have the ability to raise revenues. It's kind of one of those things. It's inevitable, and we will be looking very closely at how much of our fund balance we will use and how much cost cutting we're going to have to do. Putting in a brand new building is going to get some extra tax revenue, but it's never going to make up that kind of money.
I think we might need to
tax the residents. What I was going for was a strategy as the things that we own and how can we make money just as far as our tax reversion houses and things like that. How can we, do you have a strategy in what we own where we don't have to tax the residents? That's where I was coming from. Because I know about the part you said about the revenue and not trying to increase people's taxes, but what do you have as a strategy in what we own as a city and selling it and, making a profit or stopping a capital improvement that we cannot do this year to save us some money? I want to hear some strategies, and, we know the economy is falling down slowly every day when people are not going to work and things like that, but tell me a strategy for that.
The city doesn't own
what are we going to do about it
that they can sell. Unless you want to sell parks, but that again takes a vote of the people. We can stop some capital, but the only large capital item for next fiscal year is a new engine truck that is already 5 years overdue. This is more of a budget discussion.
Yeah.
Which we're having in May, but the reality is the city has no ability to raise funds. We are restricted by state law on what we can and cannot do.
Well, we're going to need to revisit our fiscal management plan. Unfortunately, the plan that we had for when we had the recession, of course, we cut some of that out after we came back from the recession, and we updated it, I think, probably 2015 or 16.
Correct.
But that's got all of our plans. These will need to be council-initiated goals anyway. But yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Blum.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I know a lot of businesses being strategic to find out the things that you own and sell it to compensate for what you lost. Thank you, Mr. Blum, for that, and Mr. DeMonico for that opinion.
Okay.
Also, Mr. Albright.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Hello, everybody. A couple of items for this evening. The first is regarding the proposed revised Code of Ethics. The Ethics Ad Hoc Committee completed its review of the city's current Code of Ethics last week and made some final revisions. I incorporated those revisions into a draft form and submitted those to the committee members. And the committee members had an opportunity to review those changes, and they have approved all those changes. Over the weekend, I sent an email to the members of council and Madam Mayor, along with a copy of the current Code of Ethics, the proposed Code of Ethics showing all of the revisions and additions and deletions that the committee had reviewed and made over the course of all of its meetings. And then also a final draft of the proposed Code of Ethics was attached to the email I sent over the weekend. If there are no additional revisions or deletions that the City Council would like to make, then I can arrange for having the proposed Code of Ethics put in ordinance form and added to the next City Council agenda. And of course, if there are any changes that the council wishes to make at that time, they can simply do it as well. And I believe Councilman DeMonico had already asked Ms. Doom to add the agenda now that I'm thinking about that. I think Mr. DeMonico did that yesterday.
Yeah, and that was what the committee, of course, just wanted is, as soon as possible after we passed it, that it'd be placed in front of city council, of course.
So
Okay, I didn't get to finish reading all of it, and then Mr. Albright, when you I know you are an attorney and you go over things, but are we allowed to get a second opinion on this on certain things from another law firm or anything like that?
If the majority of council decided to get a second opinion, I don't think that there's anything in the charter or the ordinance that would prevent that, assuming there was a majority on council that wanted to do that. But the city attorney is the chief legal advisor for the city. But if they wanted to get a second opinion, I don't know as if that's ever happened before. But I guess
I asked that because I've never seen a council a person on council try to administer another council person. That's what it sounds like. And I wanted to get a second opinion, not going against what you said, but
What do you mean
Ms.
by
Doom,
that?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
What did you mean, administer another council? What do you mean by that?
I'm gonna ask Ms. Doom because she used to be a former mayor, and council member. So, Ms. Doom.
Ms. Doom, we can't hear you. No.
Can't hear you.
No, but I could read your lips again there.
Help!
There.
Yes, you
Okay,
are.
now we got you.
Am I back? I have no idea why it keeps going in and out like this. No, in our discussion that we had about council members creating an ethics ordinance. And the concern that was brought up in discussion was, should that be reviewed by an outside attorney or an outside person who's very familiar with ethics that in no way is associated with a community? So there's the question there. Is that something that would be beneficial to the council, is to have an outside entity review what the council has? Well, I say council, but it's 2 council members. Is it 3?
No, it's
That you have, how many members?
The ad hoc committee was myself and Councilman Baker and 3 residents.
And 3 residents, okay. So then the question then really is the mayor would be far more comfortable if a third party who's not associated with the city, as far as being an elected official or a member of the community, review that. And that's a decision that council has to make.
That's correct.
No.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary either, like Mr. Curley said, because any council person could propose any ordinance to city council, even on their own, without a committee being involved. I don't think that'd be necessary, an unnecessary expense.
Okay, well, I can probably pay for it on my own.
Madam Mayor, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Real quick, I haven't reviewed the whole ordinance yet. I think that before I would even make that decision, I would rather have more time to review it. It's going to be on the next agenda, so that's why I didn't review it yet. I do plan on reviewing it before our next meeting. So I wouldn't want to say one way or another at this time, personally.
And if I may, if it's on the next agenda, it can always be tabled, or there can be a first reading and then set for a second reading, but the matter can always be tabled as well.
Okay, that sounds good.
Did anybody have any questions on that topic?
No, I just have one comment though. One thing that I'm looking at is that these are rules for all of us, and not only for council members, but it's for everyone to follow and abide by. So, that being said, I don't see the need to go and get a second opinion, because it's not coming from a biased standpoint. It's just rules that we all have to abide by. So it's not like, say, singling me out or anybody else. It's for everybody. So, but I would have no problem. I mean, we're talking about it at the next meeting. If it needs to be tabled or if there are questions, I think we should just address it then.
Anybody else would like to speak on this? So are we tabling this to our next meeting, everyone?
No, it would just be added to the next regularly scheduled agenda. It's not an agenda, it's something I wanted to cover in my report section, Madam Mayor, just because it was something that just was agreed upon by the committee members last week. And there were some additional changes at the last meeting that were made, and then the revisions were made so the committee members could see those, what it looked like in ordinance form. But that was my intent, was to place it on the next meeting's agenda for review and possible first reading and a vote.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
No one has any more questions?
I do have a couple, or one additional item. I do have an update regarding the City of Eastpointe's gun storage ordinance. As the council is aware, back on October 15th of 2019, the city enacted a gun storage ordinance that prohibited the storage of firearms in an unlocked motor vehicle subject to certain conditions. Shortly after that ordinance was enacted by the City Council, a lawsuit was filed in the Macomb County Circuit Court. That lawsuit was filed on December 2nd, 2019. On January 13, 2020, the plaintiffs in that matter filed a motion for summary disposition. And what a motion for summary disposition simply is that the moving party is saying that there is no issue of fact and that the law is essentially on their side and that there's no need for a jury, and the matter should essentially be summarily dismissed in their favor. The parties appeared for oral arguments on the plaintiff's motion on February 3rd of this year, and thereafter our office filed the city's own motion for summary disposition, saying that the plaintiff's case did not have any merit. And the parties appeared on March 9th of 2020 to argue the city's motion for summary disposition. The court indicated that the court would take the matter under advisement and issue a written opinion and order. Late this afternoon, our office received from the Macomb County Circuit Court judge a written opinion and order. The written opinion and order denied the plaintiff's motion for summary disposition and granted the city's motion for summary disposition. What does that mean? It means that the court has made a determination that the City of Eastpointe's gun storage ordinance is not preempted by state law, and that it's a validly enacted ordinance and it can be enforced. And so that was the nature of the email that I circulated this afternoon and provided the city with a copy, the City Council with a copy of the order. A copy of that order can also, or probably should be posted on the city's website in case anybody from the public would like to read it again. This just came out late this afternoon, so it's a very new order. And then finally, I know at the last special meeting, I didn't get an opportunity to go over our firm's monthly status report. I'm happy to answer any questions in the event anybody on council has any questions. And that is it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. No questions from council? Okay, let's move on to new business. Item A, Macomb County Habitat for Humanity proposal to purchase tax reverted properties. Council?
Sure. Did anyone from administration want to introduce this, or we want to go right into a motion?
Absolutely. Can you hear me? This is Kim Holman.
Oh, hi, Ms. Holman. How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm glad everybody's staying safe. So I wanted to discuss this proposal that has been presented by Habitat for Humanity. We have been lucky in that we have had a number of entities that are based on supporting the community that really focus on supporting the community, present proposals as regards to our tax reverted properties. As a note, this proposal is coming from Habitat for Humanity. These are the 4 worst properties that we have in our inventory. A number of them, 3 of them have foundation issues. A number of them are full of very, very dirty, full of belongings and things like that. 10 Mile, the porch columns are collapsing due to the foundation issues at the front of the house. Stevens, same thing, foundation issue. This was the house that had the squatter. The house is sloping toward the back. Saxony, there's been something done to the layout of the house that makes it almost unusable. So in order to make it even habitable, there would be the need to knock out and replace some walls to actually make some bedrooms. The Valley house was one of the worst. It was very, very fuzzy inside. There's a lot of water damage. There's standing water in the basement that's green due to the foundation issues, and the south wall of the basement will have to be replaced. These properties were all in the pool that were offered to the local entities that have expressed interest in some of the other properties that the city owns. These were declined due to the condition and the amount of work that would be needed. In addition, we've had several licensed contractors that have toured the homes. A number of them have said it just the work that needs to be done outweighs the market value, and that they thought that demolition was really the only option. Habitat, based on the relationship that they have and want to build even further with the city, rallied some of their experts. They did make a couple of trips to the properties. They wanted to save the city the cost of demolition, which could get close to probably 15 or 20,000 per property. With their reliance, their expertise in this, and their reliance on the support of donors and volunteers, they think that they can make this work. Most likely, this would, of course, not be anything on which they would profit. The options are, the city could try and contract for rehab. Unfortunately, I think that due to the amount of work that any bids that would come in, would get the cheapest materials and workmanship, because generally we go with the low bid. Definitely don't want these properties to end up, our ultimate goal is we don't want these properties going back through the tax foreclosure cycle for sure, but also not going through dangerous buildings. The goal is to get these into the hands of somebody that will make sure that it's turned into home ownership. The advantage of this offer from Habitat is that they are definitely a trusted housing entity. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers donating materials. They are estimating anywhere between, costs would be probably between 40 to 60 or more thousand per property. And that does not include, the donated time and the donated materials that they can use to have these redone. For that reason, they are asking that they could get the properties each for $1 to, again, save the city the cost of demolition. We do, in general, I regularly get requests from individuals who are interested in purchasing tax reverted properties. Some of them are people who have reputations of doing this kind of work and have done good work. Some of them are local residents. I think our biggest thing, and the impression that I got from the meeting that we had where I presented the option of auctioning these properties, is that council really wants to ensure that these properties are done correctly, and that, again, they don't end up back in either dangerous buildings or tax foreclosure. Interestingly, we have a number of, I think I now have 5 requests from police officers who are very interested in living in the city where they work. I would strongly suggest that if council would, consider any kind of offers for properties that are not yet rehabbed to be sold, that the option would be to sell them to our first responders. They are, particularly these days, putting their lives on the line for all of our residents and all of us who love the city, and they would definitely do good work, but that's an aside. So the proposal is to sell these to Habitat for Humanity. They are ready to get going as soon as, obviously, the restrictions are lifted on getting people together and buying work materials. And let me know if you have any questions.
Council, any questions for Ms. Holman?
No.
No.
Nope.
No.
Well,
I'm not that good.
no, thanks for the intro.
I do want to update you that I have reached out. We do have some, council had previously approved 4 properties to be sold to Community Housing Network. They purchased 2. There are 2 that they are still having title issues with. We are very fortunate. I did apologize to them because the rest of ours have all come back clear, which is great. So they are working on those 2. Reverend Bayou and the United Methodist Church, with everything that this area is going through, they are more motivated than ever to get to work. I have been told that their funding is together. We have a couple of details to work out, and they will be ready to close on their 8 properties. I have also talked with Love Life Family. They are all doing well. Everybody is healthy. They just need a little bit more time with everything that's going on right now with the COVID-19.
Sure. I'll motion then that we move to approve the sale of 4 city-owned properties: 16002 Stevens, 16494 10 Mile, 4741 Saxony, and 24599 Valley, for a total of $4 cash, $1 each, and to authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this sale.
I'll support.
That.
Moved and supported by Councilwoman Lucido.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
Councilperson Curley.
Yes.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, everybody.
Next item under new business is item B, bid award for finance Doric canopy project. And is Mr. Marucci here?
No, I can speak to this though.
Okay.
This is a project that there was $23,000 left over of building authority money that can only be used on projects at City Hall. We had determined that the south entrance over by Finance had become problematic. In the winter, we get snow and ice buildup that causes the door to stick and not lock properly. And in the summer, the sun beats on that door all day long and the frame heats up and warps. And again, it will not always lock tight during the summer. So we had looked into doing a canopy over that entrance to block the snow and ice in the winter and the sun in the summer. I don't know if you remember, but we had brought this project to council probably 9 months ago. And the estimate for the project was just under $48,000. Council had authorized at that time that they would pay the amount in excess of the available $23,000 up to the $48,000, but not a penny more. And as you can see, we have one bid that's $69,000. To stop a door from sticking, even I will not spend $69,000. So the recommendation is actually to deny or to reject the bid, and we will look at other alternatives to fix the problem and save a couple bucks, because there's no way we're spending that kind of money on this project.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
are you ready for a motion?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'll
Ready?
motion
I'm
to,
ready.
I'll motion to reject the bid from Bernico Incorporated for the finance door canopy project.
Support.
Support.
I think Councilman Baker won that one. Moved and supported. Almost had it, Mr. Curley.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido? Councilperson Baker?
Yes.
Councilperson Curley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes. Mr. Blum, question. You still there, Blum?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Blum?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Now, the money that we're not going to use on that door, now, when you go to the clerk's office and things like that, because I'm trying to figure out when the governor relaxes the order or stops the order and people start coming in one by one, are we going to get some type of plexiglass or something like that just to protect them going forward? Can we use that money to do something like that, just like we have at the water department where you have the glass and things like that? Can we use something to protect the residents and also the workers with something in between them?
That would be a legitimate use of the money, yes.
Okay. Has that been thought of or spoken of?
Nope. We haven't had any conversation about any additional projects at this point.
Okay, I'm just saying, since that, I think that's the top of our importance right now is not spreading the virus. And so maybe we can do something inside, protect the residents and the employees here until further notice. Just something to put on for now. Okay.
Sure, we'll discuss it at staff tomorrow.
Next item. Okay, thank you, sir. Under new business, we go on to item C, discussion on action on grass mowing. City Manager, Ms. Doom and council want to speak more on this, and we have our city attorney.
Well, I'll start it off. Oh,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, my thing is on this. I've been reading what the governor said about cutting grass. My understanding is that residents can mow their own lawns. She doesn't want contractors coming out cutting the grass for residents. My concern is, I mean, I guess it all depends on when this order is lifted. I won't tell anybody not to follow the governor's orders. What I don't understand is the difference between me cutting my own grass or if I was unable physically to cut it, as long as social distancing was practiced and maintained at all times. I don't understand the difference between me doing it and a one-man operation doing it. But I will not tell anybody to violate the governor's orders. That's just something that I don't really understand. But as far as maintaining their own grass, residents are allowed to do that. Social distancing is what is told of us. My personal feelings, I wouldn't ticket people for cutting their grass, or even if I wouldn't even question people that I saw cutting grass, because we're told to be social distance at all times. I wouldn't send an officer into a potentially violation of the social distancing just to give somebody a fine or a ticket for maintaining their yard. The only other exceptions I've seen with contractors in her ordinance is that issues that relate to sanitation, health issues, and safety issues. And that was just kind of beyond the grass cutting, but that's even with that, there are sanitary issues when it's talking about rodents and things of that nature. So I think the onus would fall on the person that is doing the work, or if someone had a contractor come out to maintain sanitary issues or whatever, the onus may fall on them, but I would not send someone, personally, I wouldn't send somebody to go question, fine, or ticket someone that I saw cutting grass. Because I don't want to tell anybody to go and violate social distancing just to try to see if someone is in violation. But that's all I had on it. As far as people being able to cut their own grass, that's allowed under the governor's orders.
Yeah, Madam Mayor. She disappeared.
I guess just go ahead.
Hello, Madam. Go ahead. Madam Mayor?
I don't think we.
I think we lost you for a moment. Nope, that doesn't hurt. Madam Mayor, are you there?
Yeah, I don't think I see her.
Well, not yet. Oh,
I see.
She just joined.
there. Oh, Madam Mayor, is that you? There she is. Madam Mayor, if I may, can you hear us now?
Here I go. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you
Yes.
now. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. If I may, I've been getting a lot of calls about cutting grass as well. And I haven't cut my backyard yet. And I don't know, I don't know if all of you go for a walk each day. My wife and I do. There's a lot of people who have grass that's extremely long. And even though we say the 30th is only 9 days away, grass can get pretty long or longer in a 9-day period. So I would encourage this council and the mayor and administration to say, folks, they encourage you to go out and get exercise, go for a walk. Well, there's nothing better exercise than being out there by yourself, cutting your grass yourself. So I would encourage that we would allow that and let the people go ahead and cut the grass. I don't know what's in my grass. There may be a lot of critters there, and I would hate to run over a critter and have you know what all over the lawnmower and myself. And as far as commercial cutting is concerned, we have a lot of independent professional grass cutters, even in our city, even in Eastpointe. One guy, one person, guy or gal. And I see no reason why that shouldn't be allowed to have them go out and cut the grasses, even if there's only one person. So I think we should open that up to the folks. I know a lot of people wanted to watch the meeting tonight to find out what kind of discussion we were going to have on the grass cutting, but that's my feeling on it, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone
Madam
else?
Mayor? Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So in my opinion, I agree with Mr. Baker and with Mr. Curley. I think it's very important for homeowners to be getting outside, getting sunshine, and this is a really depressing time for people. A lot of people are suffering from depression, and getting outside and working in your yard and stuff really helps with that. It makes you feel good about yourself. Your house looks nice, things like that. And I think we need to encourage that mental health aspect with what everyone is going through. So I think that is very important, that we do encourage people to go out and cut their lawns. And I do agree that if it was a one-man team that was cutting an elderly neighbor's lawn or an elderly person's lawn, I don't think that, it's something that I personally would want our police department to be enforcing right now because of of the governor's recommendations.
And if I could go next. What'd you say?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
please.
so, yeah, thank you, Mayor. Well, I agree with everything but one thing, Councilwoman Lucido, Councilman Curley, Councilman Baker, on what you were saying. I believe, of course, yeah, if someone wants to go out and cut their own lawn, they have their own mower, that is fine to do. But even a one-man operation, the whole point of governor's executive orders have the least amount of people out. You're going to need to go get gas. You're going to need to go get other things. You might need spare parts if you're cutting lawns. I don't believe even one-person operation should be out. And I'd like to just read, there's actually a Q&A for the governor's executive order online specifically addressing this. And I think we should be following this. There's a question that says, may landscaping, lawn care, tree service, irrigation, and related outdoor maintenance companies operate under this order? And it says in nearly all cases, no. A business cannot designate workers to perform these services unless the service is necessary to maintain the safety, sanitation, and essential operations of a residence. This is a narrow exception that only permits in-person work that is strictly necessary to address a circumstance that immediately and genuinely impairs the habitability of a home during the emergency. The exception will be satisfied at most rarely. Routine concerns such as longer grass, increasing insects, pests, or allergies do not qualify. Nor can workers leave the home to perform these services at business facilities. The exception applies only to residences. Any necessary in-person work that is permitted under the order must be done in accordance with the mitigations measures required under Section 10 of the order. The order does not prohibit homeowners from tending to their own yards as they see fit. And I believe that answers all the questions that Ms. Van Haren posed in her email to all of us. I think we should be following that. I don't think we should be giving the green light on individual contractors, even if there is just one person in a truck to be doing it. And I mean, I used to cut lawns. I mean, my dad and I had a lawn care company, and he was cutting by himself, or I was by myself, but I still don't think we should be out if that's what the governor's saying.
Well, just for a point of clarity on what I said, I never said that anybody should hire a contractor. I just gave an opinion about that. I said I didn't see what the difference was, but I read the exact same article, and I said the only exceptions were the ones that you just mentioned. Because I know that was also a point of inquiry, is that could residents get out and cut their own lawns? And I would say unequivocally, yes, they can. But I've also stated in my point that I would never tell anybody to violate the governor's orders, but in like fashion, I wouldn't tell an officer to go look around and try to ticket people to see if they're violating, because the whole thing is about social distancing. So I'm not going to tell somebody to violate social distancing to impose a fine for cutting grass. So that was the only difference in what I said. But yeah, by all means, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, break the rules. I can't tell people to do that. But yeah, as far as maintaining their own lawns, by all means, that's clear, I think.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going into the grass line. I'm going to go with the governor on this one. And she said she wants people to stay home. I understand mental health. That is why people walk outside. I walk outside with my kids all the time. We have the library that has been giving out books and things like that. And so I think the main focus right now, people are trying to stay healthy. People are losing their lives. A lot of people are losing family members. And I believe everybody's priorities are different. I'm not saying because you want to cut your grass, it's not, your priority might be a different priority than mine, but the priority here is saving lives. And so with that being said, I'm going to agree with what the governor's saying. She wants people to stay at home. But the thing about that is, in ticketing people, I don't believe in really ticketing people, but if that's what she says we need to do, that's what she says we need to do. But we are very relaxed on that, because me being an ex-police officer, I understand about public safety, and also we don't have the manpower to go just ticket everyone who is cutting their grass when we don't even have the manpower to get people who are actually doing real crimes. So saying that, we are going to attend to what the governor has said. It's not something that I do I'm not going to undermine leadership at all. If she tells us to do something, I'm going to respect that, and I'm going to go forward with that as well. I understand mental health. I worked in that for several years. And I believe in 9 more days, depending upon what she says, will give us an accurate amount of time to see what we should go forward with. But till then, I think we should go with what the governor's recommendation is. And I believe that staying home and staying inside is one of the best options. And if you're not going to get food, or going to work, or going outside to get some fresh air, then I think you need to stay inside. Mr. Albright, can you touch on that?
Yeah, just so I'm clear. So is it the council's direction that that individual resident may cut their own lawn as indicated in the Q&A section of the executive order, because it's not specifically referenced as far as lawn cutting and hiring landscapers. This was something that was done to interpret the actual executive order, which was entered on April 9th. So just so the residents are aware, the council is saying, yes, if you need to get out and cut your own lawn, certainly you can do so. With regard to an elderly person or maybe a shut-in, that a neighbor or a friend would be able to cut that person's lawn. But as far as any landscaping businesses, that would not be permitted until at least April 30th.
I would agree with that.
Mr. Albright, so are you saying, Mr. Albright, are you saying that the governor says that residents can come outside and cut their own grass?
I believe that's what Council Member DeMonico actually read is that's stated in the Q&A, which interprets the executive order. I don't have it up on my screen right now, but I believe Council Member DeMonico read verbatim from that section.
Yeah, the governor's executive.
I'm sorry, my phone is not charged. It's off and on. I'm sorry, Mr. DeMonico. Yeah.
Yeah, the FAQ is just a link right on the michigan.gov on the webpage for that executive order.
Yeah.
It's still like a gray area there because she wants people to stay inside, and then she doesn't want people outside cutting their grass. So people can't cut their grass. Does it say that?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
It does say that you can cut your own grass in the question and answer. And I disagree. I think that she wants people to get outside. I think she just wants them to use social distancing.
I would agree with that. She encouraged people to go for walks and do things of that nature. So she encourages people to get out and get exercise and not necessarily be confined in their homes or even on their front porches. Mm-hmm. She just says to socially distance. So cutting your own grass is permissible. Going for a walk is permissible. Hiring contractors and landscapers, that's what she said that we're not allowed to do.
And I do believe as well that a family member or neighbor or friend may cut somebody who is essentially a shut-in or not able to physically cut their own grass.
Now, I know they were talking about cutting grass compared to also people planting flowers and other things like that. So it's just cutting grass, or is it in addition to that too? Because some people might be planting flowers in their garden and different things like that. So.
Yeah, this topic is just on lawn cutting.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm happy that party read that verbatim and gave us a clarification what the governor wants. And I think we all agree we don't want to supersede the governor's decision. So I think we're all in agreement that we can have individuals cut their own grass, but will not be able to hire someone to do it until we'll see what happens after the 30th. So thank you. Thank you, Cardi.
Madam Mayor? I would support Mr. DeMonico and the governor's orders. I think what the governor has put out right now, I would be willing to definitely agree with exactly what she's recommending.
I'll support that.
But there was one more thing I wanted to clarify, and I thought we should have a discussion when I added this to the agenda. And that was the notice that was put in the water bills about homeowners grass getting tickets if it's over 6 inches. So I wanted to clarify that so it's on the record too, because I know we've been getting a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, that was supposed to be, I think, item E, but I mean, if the mayor would rather just discuss it now since we're talking about it, I think that would make sense.
Yeah.
It's just not very clear in our packet about.
Oh, you're right.
item
You're right.
E.
You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Okay. We can wait till item E.
Okay. I'm sorry. You say you added something to the agenda. What was that again?
No, we didn't add anything.
Just clarifying.
No, what were you saying?
I think we're losing you.
What were you saying before my phone call? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, what I brought up is on the agenda later, so we'll wait.
Okay. This was just a discussion. Okay. So saying that we are going with the governor's order, and people, the residents can come outside and do their own lawn and stay so get done, please. I don't think it was actually a motion. It's just something that we want to discuss for clarity, correct?
Right, I think we wanted to make sure that Ms. Doom had the proper information to put it on our website, on, that all the residents are aware that we are just following exactly what the governor is recommending or whatever we discussed tonight here, so.
And also, if Ms. Doom wanted to actually put the governor's orders on there, that would be better. So it's not any confusion.
Yes.
In addition to what the council actually said as well. So we're actually just want to make sure that we are equal to what the governor is saying. Thank you, council, and thank you, Mr. Albright, for that. Next item on is the discussion on board and commission Zoom meetings. Mr. DeMonico and Lucido want this on the discussion.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to talk about this. I just think that now that it's been a little while, you know, we've been under quarantine for a month. I think it'd be nice if we could get, sorry, some of the boards and commissions up and running if they're able to. I think we need to probably look at each board and commission separately. Some of them, I think it'll be easier for them to meet and do what they need to do, such as the Beautification Commission or like the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission, where there's not necessarily other members of the public that need to be there, such as like the Planning Commission or Zoning Board of Appeals, where someone comes in front of you and presents. I think it'd be much easier for them to have meetings and they could at least try. And then they can discuss any events they usually have upcoming and, you know, cancel them or modify them as they need to. So I just think instead of leaving all of our board and commission meetings canceled for now, I think that we should just discuss allowing them to meet, of course, just meeting all the Open Meeting Act requirements as we are right now for our city council meetings. And they could do the same thing, you know, share a Zoom account or whatnot with, you know, the city administration could share that info with them and help set that up.
And that was my purpose for putting it on also.
Okay. With the meetings, they started this when we started ours. So I don't see a big issue with that.
I had a hard time hearing you.
Yeah. Did we,
Okay. Anybody else would like to discuss?
Yeah, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Hear me?
Okay. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know, Cardi. Are you suggesting that they would meet using Zoom? Are you suggesting that they should have an open meeting in person?
Oh, no in-person meetings. No,
Okay,
absolutely
all
not
right.
that. No.
All right. What I'm suggesting to the council for our next two meetings in May, I would strongly suggest that we continue meeting using Zoom for our two meetings in May, and we'll find out where we're at the end of our second meeting in May. She may lift everything by the 30th, but that doesn't mean that this whole virus isn't going to stop. The virus is not going to stop on Thursday, June 30th. There are people going to catch the virus. The figures was about 326 in Macomb County as of today or yesterday. More people are going to die, and more people are going to catch the virus. And I'm sure none of us want to be part of that, of giving a virus to somebody. I haven't been tested. I don't know if any of you all been tested. I could be carried it for all I know, but I would hope that the council would agree that we absolutely must stay with Zoom until at least June.
Yeah, I think a motion maybe that we could make is just that as long as the governor allows us to have remote meetings, we just continue to have them until we're allowed to. As you're saying, Mr. Curley, to prevent the least amount of in-person interaction, even if, we start to flatten the curve.
Yeah. Well, I could be glad to make that motion if the mayor allows it, but, I'm being extra careful. I'm 84 years old. And if I catch the virus and go to the hospital and have to be put on a respirator, I'm not sure I'm going to come home.
Mr. Curley, Mr.
Yes.
Curley,
Yes.
I added that for item F, meetings in May, and that's when I thought we would have that discussion about our meetings in May.
Oh.
That's
we're
why
all
I added
jumping ahead
that.
of ourselves here. Yeah.
That's
Well,
what I was gonna say. I mean, if we're gonna do that vote now, then we can eliminate F. off
Well,
of the
that's fine.
agenda.
At my age, I always like to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd be happy to make a motion right now about the boards and commissions at least, and we can save city council till later.
Okay.
That all right, Mayor? I think she's muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Mayor.
I think she's
Okay,
trying to.
this Zoom thing is not that fun to me. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next item on the agenda, item E, discussion on water bills. Everybody can hear me, please?
Well, I don't think you heard, we were going to make a motion, if that was fine, about the board and commission meetings. I think, looked like she just dropped. Oh, wait, maybe not.
Okay, I heard the last part. So the D was the board and commission Zoom meeting. You want to add that, you don't want to just go to meetings in May, because those are two different things.
Right.
Just
We're talking about boards and commission meetings right now. I want to.
I already approved the agenda to F, so let's just keep going, so there's no confusion. So let's go to E, discussion, action, and water bills.
We were trying to make a motion about.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you all.
Yeah, we were just trying to make just a motion about boards and commission meetings. The later item was for city council meetings.
Right. Okay. It's hard to hear you all because it keeps going off and on.
Yeah. So I was just going to motion that we allow boards and commissions to meet, as long as the governor allows it. Commissions such as, the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission, Beautification Commission, Civil Service Commission, Downtown Development Authority, Housing Commission, Library Commission, Parks Commission, the Rare Authority. Those should be easier meetings to have. But then the Assessment Board of Review, Planning, and Zoning Board of Appeals, I'd just suggest that as long as the folks coming to the meeting for the board, as long as they agree to it also, that we do it. If they'd rather not do it over Zoom, I just suggest that we delay that particular agenda item for those commissions, and then the rest of the commissions, I'm not sure this would apply to.
I'll support that.
Councilman, can you read that, Mr. Monaco? I know I didn't hear. You just said you agree to the board and commission Zoom meetings, pretty much, correct?
The board.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I heard, but I'd want my motion just to be if the commission was comfortable doing it too. I don't want to force any of the commissions to have to have their meetings either.
Okay, and I heard Mr. Councilman Baker support it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Moved and supported, please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Councilperson Curley.
Yes.
Next item is discussion action on water bills. Mr. Blum?
Well,
Mr. Blum?
Yes, ma'am. So what's the actual discussion here?
well, this was an item I believe I'd added to the agenda.
Action on the water bill, discussion action on the water bill.
Yeah, I just request, I guess, in the future
Discussion
that,
and action on the water.
yeah, if in the future
Okay.
we can assign someone to each agenda item so that we know whose agenda item it is, because I believe this is mine, but there's not enough information. I just wanted to bring up the paragraph
Okay.
that was
Yeah.
on the water bills. You know, it was previously, of course, brought up in this meeting, and residents have been asking about it. We've, of course, had the paragraph, you know, it says to property owners and occupants, you're required to maintain your grass and weeds to a height not to exceed 6 inches. You'll no longer receive a letter advising that you're in violation. We will cut the grass and invoice you. I just wanted to bring that up for two reasons. I'm assuming, you know, it was added to this bill before, you know, any of the quarantine went in. You know, we didn't mean to put that in the, I think I see Miss Duma shaking her head, agreeing with me. So sorry about that, residents of Eastpointe. But then I just wanted to bring it up also because I had thought we were at the point where we were giving one warning per season per parcel, and I just did not know when we had changed that, and I just wanted to have a discussion with council on that.
That was the message was added by Mary Van Haren at her request. Her indication was that the notice was not part of the ordinance and it was taking a significant amount of staff time with the change in moving to a vendor, the grass cutting vendor doing the identification, that we were not going to do individual notices. We have the newspaper one that is required, and this was an additional notice to every resident. It was going to be on both the April and the May water bill just to keep the residents informed. They should know by now that they got to cut their grass, but yeah, the decision was made by the building official to not do individual one-time notices any longer, as it is not required under the ordinance.
Yeah, and I had just brought that up because so I do understand some points where sending a letter to vacant properties obviously is not very helpful. But for homes that are owner occupied or rental properties, I believe that we still should be putting a notice out. I mean, everybody does understand that they have to keep with the 6-inch distance rule, but weeds and other things that make it a little more complicated, we may think they're in violation, but they might not think it or realize it. Maybe you had a very, very busy week and you didn't realize you had weeds, you know, a couple feet tall against the side of your house or something. I think we just should be warning before we cut. Otherwise, just at any point in time, the city could be coming out and cutting. And if we're going to see a house over 6 inches, we're at the property. Why don't we just leave that notice at the property at that point in time, and there's their warning. And if it's a rental property, I think we should still mail one to the owner of the property, but also leave one there too, just so that I don't think that, you know, is too inconvenient for code enforcement. I think I see Elke raising her hand, and I don't see the mayor.
Yeah, you're still muted there, Alki.
Sorry, my phone is going back and forth. And on this discussion, glad you brought it up. I was thinking about, since we extended the dog licensing, did council want to think about extending the late payment fee to June 21st as well? I think first. Is that something you all thought about?
The,
Yeah, go ahead, Councilwoman Lucido.
I don't know what she's referring to for till June 21st. I guess I was just wanting clarification. She broke up a little bit there.
Oh,
so I
the
didn't
water
know.
bill. Oh, thank you. The water bills.
Oh, yeah,
I think we did it.
we did it till June 21st earlier
We
tonight.
did that already. I
Yes.
thought that was the dog licensing we did.
Yeah, I think we did water bills in the same motion, if I remember correctly. Can anyone else remember?
No, we
Miss
didn't
Lindsay?
do that in the same motion.
Major.
I'm not sure. I could be wrong, you could be wrong, but together we will be right. No, I don't believe we did it both. It was separate. That's something council wants to do, thought about doing.
Well, we were we were first discussing the paragraph on the water bill about lawns being 6 inches long. We could discuss that right after, or I think Elke might have the answer to her question. Yeah, Ms. Doom, go ahead.
Here, my phone keeps cutting off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think you're still muted, Ms. Doom. Yeah. I think we hear you.
Done?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. I have no idea why it keeps muting on me. All right, so first of all, an apology to those residents who saw the message on the water bill. Those bills are, that letter is created far in advance, and that went out, and it confused quite a few people, and we're aware of that. But what Mary was, and I don't believe Mary's with us anymore, otherwise I'd have her speak on this.
I am.
Part of our, oh, there you go, Mary. I'm going to have you speak as to why we're following ordinance to give notice in the newspaper, and then the additional notice on the water bills is a courtesy reminder to our residents when they see the water bill saying, we're letting you know you need to cut your grass, but we're not going to send you a notice. So I know you've gone on a little bit further than that, so if you would expound, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Our ordinance requires that we notify the owners of vacant properties or publish in the paper 2 times prior to the grass cutting season that we're going to be requiring property owners to maintain their grass to a height of not in excess of 6 inches. So in addition to that, over all the years, the city has also sent out a notification to property owners 1 time each grass cutting season. That was not required by the ordinance, but we did it 1 time, and then when we found that they weren't in compliance after that, we would automatically just go cut the grass. So my recommendation that Ms. Doom had presented to council some weeks ago was that we make every effort to make sure that residents and businesses are notified of the ordinance by putting it in the paper, posting it on a water bill, putting it on Facebook and on the digital sign and on cable TV, just every ability to of the ordinance. And that's what we're proposing to do this season. Part of the interest was in saving the code enforcement time, the clerical time that it takes to send the notices, and the cost of sending the notices, not only the postage, but the labor, the number of hours in the office, and the extra code enforcement efforts.
Can we not leave a warning with them when we see the 6 inch of grass or weeds?
So the contract this year with the contractor is that they're going to notify or identify the long grass and weeds and cut it when they find it in violation. So they would not be giving a notice in advance. They would simply be going and cutting the long grass and weeds. They would take before pictures of the violation. They would take after pictures that they had serviced the property, and then they would leave a sticker on the door Actually, it's a removable sticker, so it isn't anything that the residents can't remove, but to let them know that the property was serviced, found in violation and serviced, and so that they would be aware that an invoice would be coming and it wouldn't be surprised by it, you know, a month down the road.
Wait a minute. From my understanding, though, I thought, I mean, we give a list to the contractor. They just go cut. I mean, our code enforcers should be the ones identifying these properties.
Well, that's what we have done previously, Mr. DeMonico, but this year, at a recommendation that Ms. Doom did again, she read it verbatim to City Council that we were planning a new process this year, and it explained the details of having the contractor identify the violations, having them service the properties upon finding the violations. And so we proceeded along that way once we made this notification to council. I'm thinking maybe you guys didn't listen or understand it or fully comprehend.
Yeah, I must not have understood this then. I don't, how does the rest of council feel? I mean, I don't agree with that.
It was meeting the ordinance, so we weren't really asking so much for permission. We were just notifying council.
So the person that we're paying is the one that lets us know, cuts the grass. I don't like that way.
Right.
Well,
Ms. Doom? Oh, you're gonna finish? Because I know she's the one who brought it to us. That's why I went to her, Ms. Van Haren. But go, please speak and finish. Your words and done. Ms. Van Haren, please done?
Sure,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
We can't hear you again, Ms. Doom.
Okay,
No.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mayor,
No?
but can't hear Ms. Doom.
How about now?
Yes, now we can.
Wow, this is amazing. Yeah, this is something that I read into the council minutes or presented on council. Mary was not there that night and asked me to do so. One thing I would caution is we've just heard from Randy that we are looking at some major shortfalls in our potential budget for next year. So keep in mind, please, that if we go beyond our ordinance and we send postcards and we pay for the, you know, all of the mailing and the odd man hours needed to do this, and it's definitely going to be expensive. That's an expense we might be able to cut and also provide with a lot of notices for our community. One of the things that Mary had explained to me was that in the past, we have quite a few property owners that will not cut their grass until they get that notice, even though it's overgrown, hoping that we won't be out there in time to see it. And only then, when there's the threat of getting a ticket, do they suddenly cut their grass. Well, we want people to maintain their lawns when they should be maintained. And so if the council is comfortable with this, I could certainly, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Good. So if you are good with us following the ordinance, whether it be our code enforcement who go out there and identify the properties, or whether our contractor does, that is a decision, you know, that you certainly have the option to make. But we would like to just continue to notify people through their water bills, as Mary said, through every avenue we have available. And I will say that really every city that I've worked for does not individually send out notices repeatedly to people who are in violation. It is put per ordinance in the newspaper, publicly notified in every way that we can, website, Facebook, water bills, any bills we have. And that is sufficient for communities. But if you do want to continue it the way it was, just understand that that's a cost that we'll be absorbing that we don't necessarily have to by law, by our ordinance.
Sure. So I get the point that everyone understands they shouldn't have long grass. But I know we still have to do that notice, as you're saying, according to the ordinance. But the part is just knowing when you're going to be serviced by the city. The 24 or 48 hour notice, and we were just doing that once per season. If it is someone that just waits for a notice, they were only getting that notice once per season, and then, you know, their grass hits 6 inches again, and we cut it again. I think, I mean, so I understand, so I do appreciate cost savings, but I guess, I don't know what the rest of council thinks, but I'd be at least in favor then of modifying the ordinance, because I think someone should be getting a notice before they get cut by the city. I mean, what's the average charge for a lawn being cut over 6 inches?
Well, the cost of the servicing is around $35, $35, and the city added a $100 admin fee on each one.
Yeah.
Randy Blum and I had also talked about the fact that we might get to a point where we could add less of a service fee if we weren't the ones identifying it. If we didn't have to have code enforcement out there creating it's a new list that we have to create every week, because every week somebody new will be on that list who didn't get previous notification. So the method in which we were going to do it with the contractor just wouldn't work at all. We'd still have to then have the code enforcement and have the clerical staff and spend the money on the postage in order to be able to send out letters to every violator.
Does anyone else on council have comments?
I have a comment. I mean, I kind of agree on both sides. I don't think we should be mailing anyone. I do think that it would be appropriate to possibly just leave a sticker on the door saying within 48 hours, the city's gonna come cut your grass if it's not cut. Just something as simple as that. Whether it's a rental or if it's a homeowner, I would just do the sticker and have no one compiling lists to save that cost money and save money on postage. Just do the, physical warning. I believe that's what the police department does. Like for cars that are abandoned, they put a notice on the car saying it's gonna be towed in 24 hours, something along the lines of that. That would be my recommendation.
Madam Mayor?
Can you say that over? I just got back in, Ms. Lucido. Ms. Lucido? What was your recommendation again?
Yes,
I
I'm right
couldn't
here.
hear you.
So my recommendation, what I would think would be appropriate instead of mailing or anyone compiling lists or anything like that, is just when they see the grass, put a notice on the property saying that it's going to be cut in 24 hours or 48 hours if they don't cut it themselves. I mean, something as simple as that, I think, is all that would be necessary.
Madam Mayor?
Okay, council. Yes, sir.
I agree. I don't think we should send out,
Councilman.
I don't think we should send out written notices because of the cost, but I like the idea that why couldn't we put a sticker on the door, and whether it's 24 or 48 or 72 hours that you must cut your grass, and if it's not cut, then that's when we would go out and cut it. But I don't think we should sit on a notice. I think the sticker's got to be more than 24 hours, at least 48 hours or 72 hours that we'll come out and cut it if you don't cut it within that time.
Yeah, but how do they know? We'd have to send a notice out for them to have that time frame.
Notice out. Even a notice out to the homeowner. I mean, to the person who lives there.
Yeah, when you're saying wait 24 or 48 or 72 hours, you're saying we see 6 inches and then we come back and cut it like 2-3 days later, or without notifying them, or like how would they know that 24 or 48 hours?
Well, if he gets a sticker on Monday and he said 48 hours, that would be Wednesday, right?
Right. No, they're saying they don't want to do the stickers. Is what I'm saying.
Well, I know they said they don't want to, but I'm just giving you my opinion.
Oh, okay. But no letters. Okay, sorry. I think I was just mixing the stickers and letters. Okay, I get you now. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, I know some communities they have stickers where they write with a permanent marker the date they came out and the date that they will return. So even if it's the contractor who comes out and identifies a violation, they don't just cut it on the spot. They put a sticker on the door with the date on it saying, hey, you have X amount of time to cut your grass. And I think that would eliminate a lot of confusion with residents. And I think it would eliminate a lot of people saying, well, they just came out and cut my grass. I wasn't in violation. I mean, I know they'll take pictures, but I think if you're going to come out and you see it, and to put a little small sticker on the door with a date on it, I would be more in favor of that than just a contractor who is getting paid to do the job coming out saying that I had a violation. So that's my personal opinion about it. I agree with not doing all the extra postage and all that stuff to save some money there, but I think if a cheap sticker slapped on the door, I would think that that's reasonable.
Can I
Sorry, I
pipe in
just came
again?
back in. My phone.
Mary wanted to say something.
Can I say something, Mayor?
We lost her again. Go ahead.
I just want to say that I think that that would be even a more time-consuming process to have code enforcement get out of the car at every single house that there's a violation, put a sticker on the door, make a list of that, give that list to the contractor to go back a few days later, and I think that would be more time-consuming than sending out letters.
I thought the contractor was the one identifying the violation,
Well,
not the code. Maybe I just need clarity.
Yeah, that's how we bid the contract. However, the contractor didn't plan on doing that either. And so they would definitely charge more to handle it in that manner.
On any given day, Mary, how many violations, how many stickers do you think, are you talking about one code enforcement officer, or is our city divided up? How many stickers do you think they'd have to put up?
It depends. It's certainly more at the beginning of the season. We have typically used 4 code enforcement officers for about 2.5 days, full days per week, doing grass code enforcement. They do nothing else during that period because grass is so intensive. And then toward, August, late July, August, it slows down because the grass doesn't grow as fast. And by that point, they've notified a lot of the residents so that we're not continuing to send out as many letters toward the middle and end of the season.
So what is it that we would be taking responsibilities away from the code enforcement officer if they gave out slips to the residents? What other duties would they not be able to do?
All the rest of the blight in the city and all the other violations that kind of gets put to the wayside because they're doing grass violations. The other general cleanups and building violations and blight issues and rodent infestation. And
I mean, that's what they're looking for, all of that while they're out. If you happen to come across grass, you come across grass. If you happen to come across blight,
yeah, but it isn't just come across grass. Grass is their only task during those days, or else they'd never get it done. It takes that long to go through all the miles of the city and to identify the long grass and weeds.
Sure, that's what they're paid to do. That's what the fine is for, and that offsets. Offsets the costs.
It does, certainly. But I was trying to free them up to do other code enforcement issues that that they don't get taken care of as they should by having the contractor do the identification.
Sure.
Let me ask you this, because there was a statement made earlier on, I don't know how long ago, about revenue that we make from people getting violations for not having their grass cut, and that might help us with our deficit. But I hope that's not what we do. Our deficit wasn't caused by the citizens there, but you're not going to make a ton of money, and if we make more money because we don't notify somebody, then I don't know. I'm trying to mull that over in my mind. But if it's a money-making deal, then
Mr. Curley, or Councilman Curley, we are prohibited from making money when we do this. Our fees can only recoup our cost. So our best case scenario is we break even when we bill a homeowner for the work done. I don't know that we always recoup all of the cost of Mary's code enforcement and the administrative effort that goes into mailing notices and all that. But we, by state law, we are prohibited from making money on this
Wow.
activity.
I understand. Okay.
And don't we need to send notices out for any other building violation, I believe, right? If I'm reading the ordinances correctly.
Generally, they require notices be sent out in advance, but they're all very specific as to the requirements for that notification, as is the grass. And clearly it doesn't require notification to occupied homes.
Yeah.
Anything else on this? Councilman Monaco?
Well, I think I'm just gonna think about this, but I prefer to change our ordinance, I think, at this point then.
Yeah, I agree on part of that ordinance. I would like to see the whole thing in writing and bring it back. Because like I agree with what you said, I don't even remember that one in the past. Can you hear me?
Yep.
You all hear me?
Yeah,
We can hear
I
you.
think we're hearing you right now, yeah.
Okay, thank you. My phone is horrible today.
Madam Mayor, I have another question. Mary?
Yes.
Okay, so you go past my house and my front yard never gets long. But right now my backyard's probably, well, I won't tell you how long it is because you might come out and give me a ticket, but it's about 10 times longer than the front yard. So somebody goes by and looks at my front yard and says, oh, Harvey's mowing his grass, it looks great. But my backyard really looks bad. Do they get out of the car and go up to the fence, or they go in the backyard, or they're not allowed to do that, are they?
They don't go in the backyard. If they can see the violation from the front of the house, then it's a violation. I mean, the ordinance doesn't say your front yard looks good, so we won't look at the backyard. I mean, you have to have both of them maintained. And if they can see that long grass and weeds, unless it's all blocked by a privacy fence, they typically can see it. But that's part of what takes some effort and some time in driving down the street, is looking for these, backyards that aren't maintained. And a lot of times neighbors will cut their vacant house next to them. They'll cut the front lawn and not the back lawn. Understandably, they want it to look nice from the front, but you can get, knee high in the backyard without everyone ever even realizing it.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I would encourage council to let us give this a try and do it this way this season and see what kind of results we have. I suspect that the contractors and I was sitting having a conversation with them, and make sure they understand we don't want to go after somebody who couldn't get to it because it rained this past week. You can tell when somebody typically maintains their grass and when somebody typically doesn't maintain their grass. We caution on the side of, not cutting people's grass if we don't have to. We go after the worst and the biggest violators, and they know that they're in violation. Everyone knows they have to cut their grass. We don't do a grass that's only 6 inches. We're typically cutting grass that's 8, 9, 10 inches and has been neglected.
I did find the meeting that it was discussed March 3rd. It's in the minutes, so everyone could read it there. And
Okay.
or just go on YouTube during City Manager Doom's update. We should find it there. I haven't reviewed it. I just found it while we're sitting here. But
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this, council? I know Mr. DeMonico wants to go back and look at that whole ordinance and come back to it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd rather not motion anything right now. I'll review and I'll add something to a future agenda if I believe it.
Correct. I agree with you. In addition to that, since we are on a discussion, if you are done, Councilman.
Yes, thank you.
Would you like to move on? Okay, sounds good. Going forward with the water bills, June 21st, because earlier in the discussion, we only did the dog licensing. So did you guys want to extend that to all of it, June 21st, the dog licensing, water bills? Have you all thought about that at all? To stop the interest rate on the water bills
Madam
till
Mayor,
June 21st? Yes, ma'am.
I'll make that motion to extend water bills to June 21st. The water bill late fees till June 21st.
Yes, please, yes.
To waive.
Motion.
Right.
I support that. Can the mayor support that?
Okay.
Am I supposed to call the roll?
We have a support,
Okay.
motion and support.
Okay.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
Councilperson Curley,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other discussions so we can move forward, everyone? Thank you, everyone who is still on here being. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient, people that are still with us. We're going to the next item on the agenda was meetings in May, which Councilwoman Lucido added to it, and I think we already discussed it. Did you guys want to talk more or go right into making the motion for that?
Madam Mayor, there was one other thing I know we discussed about, doing Zoom meetings as long as we can to keep the social distancing. But I also, which I guess this wasn't May, this is actually April, we need to postpone our joint meeting of April 30th with the Planning Commission. I think we should just postpone that to a later date.
I agree.
Okay.
Yep. Let's do it.
So we have a motion on the table to agree with the meetings in May going forward with Zoom and postponing April 30th. Is that correct? Did I say that correctly?
Yes, the meetings in May will all, as long as the governor is still permitting us to use Zoom. But yes.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
All right, I have motion by Lucido, supported by Curley.
Can we,
Council,
what was the motion again? Sorry.
To cancel the
was
planning
to-
commission meeting.
Oh, the first week of May, that one?
No, April 30th with the planning commission.
Oh, the joint, okay. And now I forgot that we did the joint meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
all right, Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Councilperson Curley,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item G, state of emergency. Councilwoman Lucido want to add this to the agenda? Ms. Lucido?
Yeah, so, yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I just wanted to add this as a discussion for tonight. I was thinking that when we make a state of emergency in the city, council has 24 hours to approve it. And I was, in my opinion, I was thinking in 1623, the mayor has the right to make executive orders. And I was thinking we should add an amendment where council would have 24 hours to also approve those executive orders. And my reasoning behind this is just kind of open up discussion amongst the five of us when these things come about. So, we're all informed and we're all kind of like working together, and it's just to encourage, that happens. And that would be my reasoning behind it. But I kind of wanted to feel out the other council members and see how they felt about that.
I would be in favor of that. Just having
Councilman
discussions about what we need to do. I don't know if you
Councilman
caught
Curley?
that, but I said
I'm sorry, Councilman Baker. My phone it keeps cutting on and off. What were you saying, sir?
Oh, no, that's okay. No, I just said I would be in favor of that. You know, we always talk about being a transparent, cohesive team, and I think that's a good thing. You know, that we all have open discussions about plans of how we need to attack or to address rather what we need to do in situations like this. I mean, hopefully we don't have to experience this again, but I think in a state of emergency and the five of us working as a team, I think that's a great idea, and I would be in support of that.
Yeah,
Did not ask Councilman Monaco. Councilman Crowley, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I kind of like the idea. It's, it certainly would be transparent, wouldn't it? And we are only five, and we work together, and I think we should continue to do that. And by discussing things for state of emergency would be good, because then we all are singing from the same songbook.
Yes.
Okay, my phone got off again. A little bit of Mr. Curley. Councilman DeMonico?
Sure, I don't think I had anything extra to add.
Okay. And what you said, Councilwoman, was 24 hours for all of council to come up with ideas before the executive order is out. Correct me.
Right,
if I said it.
to approve the executive order like we did with approving the state of emergency. And I mean, ultimately, I would hope the idea is that we would have a meeting and have a discussion. We really wouldn't need 24 hours, and we could, move forward at that meeting. That we really wouldn't, like we did with the state of emergency. You made the declaration for state of emergency, and we approved it at that meeting. So that's the idea behind it, but have the language kind of flow the same, where you have 24 hours. So if
You talking about if we have another one?
I think we lost you there, Councilwoman Lucido, for a second.
Oh, yes. Well, even moving forward with this one, we don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, right now, the governor's orders are only until April 30th. But I mean, we don't know how long this is going to last. Is it going to come back? We have no idea. So yes, moving forward from the time we, obviously wrote an ordinance and approved it and got it on the books until,
Mr. Albright?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
To change something of the state of emergency that hasn't been changed since it was, I don't know if it was ever asked of any other time. So I really don't understand
Okay,
what
if I could,
Councilwoman, I guess I don't understand. Yeah, maybe you can clarify what she's saying.
yes, well, I'm in looking at section 16-23 of the city's code of ordinances. It states rules and regulations governing when there has been a declared state of emergency. And there are two different times when this can happen. Under the first part of the ordinance, if the council declares a state of emergency, it gives the office of mayor the ability in section A, subsection 1 through 3, certain powers to do while that state of emergency is in effect. In another instance, if the council has not declared a state of emergency, but the mayor, pursuant to the power in the city's charter, as well as this particular section, deems it necessary to declare a state of emergency, the mayor has the power to do that, and that declaration of a state of emergency then has to be confirmed by the city council within 24 hours.
Okay.
So you have two different instances. You have, if the mayor declares a state of emergency, then that state of emergency has to be confirmed by a majority on the council within 24 hours. If the city council declares a state of emergency, the city council would need to specify how long that state of emergency would go for, whether it would go for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or whatever other time that the city council deemed was appropriate for the state of emergency. While that state of emergency is in effect, however, the state of emergency that we're talking about that is declared by the city council, while that is in effect, the office of mayor then has certain powers and can exercise certain powers, which right now is not subject to confirmation by the city council. The mayor has the authority to issue and take certain steps during the state of emergency declared by the city council. And again, those steps are not subject to confirmation or ratification by the council while the council's state of emergency is in effect. So I believe that for discussion purposes, that the council could say that if the office of mayor is going to exercise certain powers under section, and the ordinance it's under section A-1 through 3, that would need to be confirmed by the city council within such period of time. Now, does that have to be necessarily 24 hours? No, it would be whatever time period that the council felt was appropriate and reasonable. So it could be whatever time frame that could be, and that would then be added under subsection 4, basically just indicating a requirement that those powers would have to be confirmed by the council within such period of time. As the ordinance stands right now, there's no such requirement for that. It only becomes a requirement if the mayor declares a state of emergency, not if the council declares a state of emergency. So I hope that helps provide some clarification. And again, without having the, I could do a PowerPoint demonstration if we could do that, but and just refer to the different sections in the ordinance. But again, it's section 16-23 rules and regulations, and it's under chapter 16 under the title emergencies.
Okay, y'all would like to look into it more, but I don't think I would be against doing something as a team with council, and we all come into an agreement with how we, as a group, have the best, insights for the city and ideas. But I would like to read over it a little bit more before I agree with Councilwoman Lucido. I want to, read a little bit more and go over it with Rich some more, if that's okay.
Yes, and this, Madam Mayor, members of council, because this is not amending the city charter in any way, it's just a part of the code of ordinances. It would only require a majority on the council voting in favor of whatever proposed changes are being made.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I was wondering if yourself and council would, be interested, maybe have Mr. Albright write something up for our next meeting so we have something to look at. And, maybe if he has any questions on what I'm kind of looking for, he can call me. That way then you guys have something to kind of look at, so it might be more clear to understand if you're actually reading it in paper,
I think I know where
because that was a lot now.
Yeah, I think I know the direction that the council may be going just in light of tonight's discussion. So I can put together some proposed language and I can circulate that by the end of the week or earlier, but at no later than this Friday. And then, we can use it as a discussion point for the next regularly scheduled meeting.
I think I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I like the idea as well. So yes, thank you, Rich. Thank you, Mr. Lucido, as well, Council.
Yeah, if I could.
Moving forward.
Could I just ask one additional question about that while we're on the topic? So why can we talk about the parks? You'd close the parks at the end of last meeting. I thought we'd post something on our website or there'd be some explanation as to why we wanted to do that. Why did you want to do that?
Save lives and continue social distancing.
Well, yeah,
those are two things. I'm not gonna add to it and go keep going around it. The whole point is this, I got calls from numerous amount of people from supervisors and things like that, saying people continue not to practice social distancing. And we got 22 deaths in Eastpointe. We have so many cases, and it's just certain things that are a priority to me. And cutting grass and people at parks right now is not my priority. It's people staying in the house and being safe. And so that is why I did that. Because people wasn't doing the basic things that the governor asked. That, you know, when we closed down the play area, people were still congregating in the parks. And I got several calls. I got emails. I even had a state representative contact me, and that's bad. And so moving forward, if I have to go stricter to save lives, that's what I will continue to do. Anything else?
Well, yeah, I was just curious because before that meeting, I had just gone by the parks to see what we had done. You know, I saw those messages that said the governor shut down the play equipment. You know, nobody was playing on it when I went by. Of course, that was only for that moment in time, and people seem to be, you know, social distancing. Spindler's very large, and I didn't seem to see any issues. Has the police? I hadn't heard anything from police or anything, so I was just asking. That's why I didn't hear of any issues before regarding social distancing. Because of course you can just walk to the park. That's, you know, doesn't require your car and gas. And I mean, I had done it that time. It's the only time I think I've driven my car. Maybe one other time in the past like month. But I was just curious.
Yeah, so the parks are closed. It's not something that I wanted to do. I love the parks, but at the same time, I like living and I like seeing other people live. So that is not a priority to me. And so moving forward, let's go to payrolls and bills. So we can keep it going, guys.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $2,041,752.69.
Support that.
Moving
I'll
supported.
support that.
Moving supported by Councilman DeMonico. Beat you, Mr. Baker. Call the roll, please.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
Councilperson Curley.
Yeah, yes.
Passes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
am I forgetting something, or did we already do it? Because the council said I spoke too early about making a motion about the council not meeting in person in May, and the fact that we would, as long as the governor still approves to have meetings through Zoom, that we'll have our both meetings in May Zoom. But somebody said we ought to do a motion. Then we made the motion on something else, and we said we'll wait for the motion for the meeting using Zoom.
We did it in item F, some meetings in May. So are you saying that whether the governor extends it or not, you still want to do it in Zoom?
I still want to Zoom.
Okay.
So, Sarah, go ahead, Sarah. You're the one that brought it up and told me I was.
I'm the one that made the motion. So, Mr. Curley, I made the motion that we were going to have Zoom meetings in May as long as the governor still permits us to. As long as it's still permitted by the governor for us to do so.
Contingent upon her decision.
Yeah, we should, even if we don't have the same restrictions, as long as they're still going to be recognized by the governor, you know, to do Zoom meetings, we're going to do them in May. That was the motion that was made.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Curley. That was a good question. Okay. And now my favorite part, the second hearing of the public. Anyone?
Sure. Brian, if we could,
Seeing none,
Yeah.
No!
If people can raise their hand with the reactions, or if we enable that chat window so people can, otherwise I think they're muted by Brian, so no one can speak up to talk during hearing the public.
All right, the chat is now open and available. I'm looking through and I don't see anyone who wishes to speak. Please raise your hand, and I will be able to see it. Oh, there's a person by the name of Shelley Crook.
Okay.
who I will,
I'm ready for. Good evening, Mrs. Crook.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. I have a couple items. You do have to slow down.
Please state your name and residency, please. before
My
I
name
start
is
this.
Shelley Crook, and I'm a 30-year resident of Eastpointe. And you need to slow down when you do the hearing of the public because we do not have buttons. You have to wait until we are released to have access to speak. Now, 2, we need to remind the council of the rules for using the logo and the building for personal gains, making videos without prior approval of the message and the content, and posting of these messages and videos on private pages makes it personal gains. Official messages are communicated via official forms only. Any council person seen giving away items without prior council consent equals personal gains. We need an ethics committee. All events that a council person does should be made public and public knowledge. Regarding this ethics issue, obviously we need to start getting a hold of our Governor Whitmer and Nessel because we are having issues with our council people here. And thank you for your time.
You all done?
Yeah, I think I said everything. Could you hear me clearly?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Ms.
So thank
Shelley.
you very much, and hopefully you all have a very nice evening. And I will clearly give this to the people in government.
Please do. Stay home and stay safe. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you should too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should too.
God
I got
bless.
several calls.
Please,
Yes, God
next
bless
one,
you.
please.
Social distancing at the best.
Mr.
Hugging at
Fairbrother,
the grocery
please,
store.
hold her down, please.
Yeah, Mike me. You can't kick me out.
I don't want to kick you out. I want you to stay home and stay safe.
all right, there's
Next
an individual by the
person.
name of Mandy, who I will now unmute.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me reset the time. Mr. Fairbrother, if they get disrespectful, cut them off. You are in control.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and your residency, please.
Miss Mandel, Eastpointe.
How you doing?
I'm calling in regards to social distancing and the orders that people on the council are making that you have to stay at home, but certain people aren't staying at home and they think it's a joke, and I don't think it's a joke. My life is at everyone's hand, just like everyone else's too. Okay, I have underlying health issues, and comments that were made on my recording were unbelievable, and it is being forwarded to the upper government. This has to stop. I don't appreciate the mayor of my city talking to me the way she did. You're gonna stop, Monique.
Mr. Fairbrother, let's go to
You
the
can
next
mute me if you want.
person that has some issue, please.
Go ahead, I'm done. Mute me.
All right, so I'm muting Mandy, and there's another individual by the name of Carol Reed, who I will be unmuting. Carol, can you hear us?
Mr. Fairbrother.
Yes, I
Mr.
can.
Fairbrother, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Fairbrother, can you hear me? If I say stop it, put them on mute.
All right.
Okay. Hold on, ma'am. Let me start this over so I can start the timing over. Please state your name and residency, please.
Carol Reed. I live on Almond Street, 73-year resident of Eastpointe. I am very concerned about the 5G Wi-Fi coming into the city and all the dangers I'm reading about it. And a poll just went up on the corner of Piper and Oak, where my son and my daughter-in-law reside, and they are expecting a baby. And I'm very concerned about this little fetus there. And I've contacted all of you about the dangers of 5G Wi-Fi. I have never heard anything back. I've been to council. Nobody even knows if that tower is on. I notice all these towers going up all over the city. I want to know who knows what. When will these be turned on? Are they turned on? How dangerous are they? Has anybody looked into the dangers? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm starting the timer over. Anybody else? Mr. Fairbrother, anyone else?
I do not see anyone raising their hand.
Okay. Last time, anyone else like to speak? Thank you so much, everyone who spoke. I always enjoy the hearing of the public. Next is mayor and council reports, starting with Councilman DeMonico.
Marianne, I see one last comment in the chat window. They said they have no mic. Do you want me to read this comment here? It's about the.
It's for council. If it's just based on one person, no, sir.
No, I'm saying they put it in before you ended the hearing of the public in the chat window. I think, Brian, you see that there, right?
I'm saying you can read it, but I'm saying if it's not addressed to all council, Mr. DeMonico, no, you cannot.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's addressed to all of us. It's about the violations, the 6-inch violation from earlier. It says, but I'll just read it word for word here. But allowing a contractor to identify and correct violations as council approved in the bid is like allowing police officers to be paid based on the number of citations they issue. It takes 80 man-hours to cover strictly grass for the city. That is roughly 1.3 miles of road per man-hour. And the person's name is A, just says A. Okay.
Thank you for reading that, and thank you, Mr. A, for that comment. Yes, sir, Mr. DeMonico, thank you.
All right. Yeah, please disable the chat now, Brian. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. And yeah, thanks for sticking around. 3 hours going strong here on Zoom. Not too bad. I just wanted to comment on a few things here from certain comments about communication and social media and all that. Each individual council person can essentially say what they'd like as an individual. And I know it's getting a little murky here between our website and social media and what some folks are saying, but each council person can have their own social media account and essentially say what is their own opinion and what they'd like on their account. The city's Facebook account and the city's website is run by Ms. Doom, and that's essentially the executive branch of government. But every council person can say what they'd like on their own page, but they shouldn't be representing the whole entire council. That's all. So as long as someone's doing that, everything should be fine. I think I just wanted to make that clarification. I don't know if I'm missing anything else, but please let me know if you have any questions about that. As for 5G, Ms. Reed, I'd responded to you. 5G is just like 4G, like the others. It's you know, I did a little research here to make sure I understood it better, but it's a non-ionizing kind of radiation. It's not going to affect DNA or tissue or things like that, and it's not going to, fortunately, it's not going to affect your, you know, your unborn granddaughter. So hope everyone had a good Easter. I hope everyone, we did a Zoom Easter at our house. Hope everyone else was able to do the same thing. And like to just say happy birthday. I guess my family's kind of like city council. All our birthdays are in April though, instead of February. You know, happy birthday Nana and Aunt Kim and Aunt Kathy. Actually, I've got an aunt on each side that were born on the exact same day, which is interesting. So happy birthday to all them, and you know, happy Earth Day and Arbor Day this week. I think the Earth's going to appreciate a lot less people driving. We'll have a lot less greenhouse gases going on, but I think unfortunately we're not really going to be able to plant any trees though for Arbor Day. But hopefully next year or later in the season we can do something about that. Hopefully we can get something together with the Beautification Commission. And also remember that tax day was pushed back to July 15th. So if you haven't gotten your taxes in, you've got quite some time. And hopefully everyone's getting their stimulus checks. I believe if I read correctly, if you are with TurboTax or with H&R Block, maybe there's others, anyone like that, I think your check's delayed. I haven't received mine yet, and I use TurboTax. So I think just stick around and wait. It'll eventually come. Sounds like they didn't quite think that through at the federal government. And I think, yeah, I think that was all I had. Thanks, Mayor.
That's all, Mr. DeMonico?
Yep, only those 7 items.
That's it? Okay. Council.
I think we lost you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Curley.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I think I counted about 16 people that joined us on Zoom tonight, and thank you for being so patient. And we get into discussions to try to make a right decision. So, but you were very patient, and I hope that we see all of you at our next meeting. Just one comment. We're in a situation throughout the world, not only in America, with this virus. And I'm convinced that whatever the governors do in relaxing the stay-at-home laws or whatever, this virus is going to be with us for a long time, another couple months anyway. And then there's suspicion by the doctors and those who are in the know that this can very well come back in the fall or the winter. So I just ask everybody to pray in your own way that the Lord will protect us and protect our friends and our loved ones, that we won't end up on a machine in the hospital. So I would just say God bless everybody, and we'll see you on Zoom at our next meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Baker.
All right, thank you. Well, just want to address a couple things. Well, I thank Councilman DeMonico for addressing the 5G issue. I did forward that to our city manager to get some clarity. She informed me that she did reach back out to Ms. Reed to try to get some understanding as to where the tower was, but she hadn't received a response back. So, but thank you, Councilman DeMonico, for providing clarity on the non-ionizing radiation, or however you put it. Also, in regards to the comments made to us about social distancing, us on council, I believe that we all have to practice what we preach. If I tell people to wash their hands, I should be washing mine. If I tell people to be careful, I should be careful. And I think that that's just good. I have kids, and I can't tell them to do something and don't do it myself. So I would just encourage all of us, and not just us on council, but all of us in the city, to just practice what we preach and do what we can to try to keep each other safe. We have to band together as a city, as a community, and look out for one another. And I'm in total agreement with that. This has been our longest meeting. Most recently, I thank everybody that stayed with us. I hope that everybody is well. To those who lost loved ones or are dealing with issues surrounding this coronavirus, I just hope that you find comfort, that you find peace, and that you all remain well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Guessing you're next, Councilwoman Lucido.
Okay, so I would just like to start by first thanking everyone that joined us this evening. I do really appreciate it. And I really wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to so many residents in the city that have gone, above and beyond, to whether it's, buying a meal for our frontline workers, or if they have extra food, putting it out on a table, to give to people who might need it, and just really like watching out for each other. I see every day I go on social media, I check on Facebook, and I see all of these great things, and it really just shows how great the residents of the city are. They're really stepping up, and they're really looking out for each other and watching out for each other, and I really appreciate that. And the only other thing I wanted to touch on is I wanted to also just thank everyone for doing their part with social distancing. If you have been watching the numbers in the city of Eastpointe, the curve is flattening, in Eastpointe. So I do feel like we are stepping up and we're doing our part, and so I do appreciate that. And as Mr. Baker said, practice what you preach. you're telling other people to use social distancing, you should be using social distancing also. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank all the residents for being a part of this meeting and staying home and staying safe. I would also thank those who came out and watched my videos to inform the residents of what's going on, and also like to thank those that donated masks. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up so we can get here. I just okay. I just like to thank everybody who is supportive of the things that I do for the city, as far as making sure that we do make sure that we lower the cases in Eastpointe. And I want to thank the people that gave me the mask, donated, and thought it was so important that we do that here and pass our masks to the residents and other people that was around the area too. It wasn't just for Eastpointe residents. It was people that came into Eastpointe as well. So the young lady who videotaped me, and also the people who watch my videos and want to continue to be informed by going to either my Facebook or Councilman DeMonico's, or also our own Eastpointe residents page or things like that to get information, because it takes all of us in the city at Eastpointe. We are a family, and you know, each family you have to go and find out information from each one of us, and I'm glad we are doing that collectively. So I just want to say thank you everyone who's supporting who's been supporting their mayor, their council, and also the directors who have been such a big help to what we're doing to make this city continuously to be strong. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you all for joining in, our guests and residents. And can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Please call roll.
Councilperson Curley,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilperson Baker,
Yes.
and Councilperson DeMonico.
For sure, no closed session. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Kidding.
Everyone.
Funny.
Good night, everybody.
Motion passes.
All right, good night.
God
All
bless.
right, stay home and stay safe. God bless.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned. Have a good one.
You too. Thank
All right,
you.
you too. You too.